Now, from the fiery depths of the Sonoran wasteland and the black heart of a post-apocalyptic culture war.
You believe in Jesus? Well, you're gonna meet him.
An audio-visual assault canceled on continents you've never heard of.
The disease, not the cure.
When the wokesters whine, the Bolsheviks bray.
Bleeding heart liberals, time to dispense some justice.
The Razor Force Offensive opens fire.
Assimilate this.
Live from the front lines of the offensive, Razor Fist.
Welcome to the Counterculture Counterattack. Welcome to the Razor Force Offensive. I am the Sultan of the Strait of Hormuz, Razor Fist, alongside the Ayatollah, Terengel. How are you?
Welcome to the Razor Force Offensive.
And we are joined by the Caliph of Cringe, the Tactical Hobo. Hello, sir.
Greetings. It's good to be back.
No, long time no see, dude. Where'd you come from?
Just been hiding out in various dumpsters and such.
Hunting down those early 2000s computer parts, huh?
Absolutely.
If you had any idea, guys, how many fully intact, fully functional PCs this guy had dug out of dumpsters, it would bowl you clean over. Didn't you find like one that I used like on a roadside somewhere?
Dude, like people used to just put them on the side of like the street in my old neighborhood.
Right.
Use bulk trash pickup or whatever, right? And I'd be like, hey, that's a working one, you know?
Yeah. Accidentally find the Hillary hard drives. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Razor Force Offensive, folks. It's nice to have the triumvirate back together. It's the show where we kick ass and take unpronounceable Indian names. What a week. Another failed assassination attempt. Should we maybe at the top of the show talk about this? What are we up to? Technically 5. 3 really, really prominent ones, though. Right?
Yeah, 3 that I am aware of. I mean, there's probably like countless more we've never even heard of. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest.
Yeah, understand this. For every visibly foiled assassination attempt, there's several that we never hear a flinging word about. Taryn, what was your reaction when you first heard it and that it took place at what was supposed to be the first night of the White House Correspondents' Dinner?
Honestly, I wasn't too surprised. And when I saw it, it's not like my heart skipped a beat or anything. I kind of expected like him to have, double the security. And as I thought, they didn't even get close to him.
Did you see him just no-sell it?
Yeah, he just sat there like, oh, well, is this happening again?
Right. Melania looked like she was watching Chris Christie moon her ass or something, but freaking Trump was like, you know what I mean? He didn't give a shit at all. Stephen Miller just like ducked and cover, and he even managed to grope his Prager's wife, which I found a good Chad move, guys. Chad move. And RFK Jr., that's probably his 50th assassination attempt this week just for being named Kennedy. He barely even registered it, for crying out loud. Did you see some of that stuff?
For RFK?
Yeah. Literally, dude, he was completely impassive the entire time. He was just like, whatever.
Didn't he message his son or something and said, yeah, they tried it again?
No. Say
I'm
that
hungry.
again, like RFK Jr. You gotta,
yeah, I'm hungry.
you got to sound like Bob Dylan speaking into a ceiling fan.
Yeah.
So he messaged his son? Seriously?
Yeah, they shared his text, and he said, yeah, they tried it again. We're just sitting here. And then he ends with like, I'm hungry.
Our suspect, they called him a black guy, but he's paler than me somehow. Dude, every public school teacher in 2026 is this guy. It's like he was built in a lab out of parts of even douchier teachers. Did you hear, or rather, did you read his manifesto that the media made a 9-to-5 occupation for a week out of spinning? Like they pretended it meant the exact opposite of what it meant. But did you guys read it?
I read parts of it that were posted on social media, but
Straight out said, hey,
Yeah.
I intended to kill Trump, but this is the first opportunity I ever had. Something to that effect.
opportunity, like what the he traveled by train across the fucking country.
Yep. I mean, he could have done it at any public event. I don't know why he chose the White House Correspondents' Dinner. It's very, very odd. And then did you see him Naruto run past the security?
Yeah.
What the hell was that? It was like playing that Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows game or something. What the hell was that?
Why?
And then he
right
winds up
then?
hog-tied and buck-ass naked in the lobby. And
Yeah, if you want to bring up the story, I got it up.
Trump winds up posting it. He winds up posting it to Truth Social. That wasn't the main story, though. Out of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, when they finally did it, I love that he actually said he wanted to go back on stage after that.
Yeah.
Like, people calling it staged, I'm sorry, like the absolute cringe. They say he wasn't stopped by security. He was stopped. That's why he had to Naruto run. That's the entire story. He was stopped. They caught him, and so he decided to kind of bolt so that he could maybe kill the president anyway. So you could tell this is just the only way that the divide the right op that we've been witnessing for all of these months can continue to salvage the last waning, smoldering rivulets of their narrative. It's the only fucking way they can continue to cling to it. What is your read, guys, on the it was staged narrative?
Dude, the whole thing about it was staged, it's like every single day we have these people going on social media saying they wish something bad happened to Trump, right? We wish they would have gone and done this, and then when somebody actually goes and acts on it, they're like, oh no, it's staged. No one would possibly do that.
Right.
Even though we've been encouraging it and hoping for it for years.
Yeah. That's another thing. It's kind of like the guys who most adamantly deny the Holocaust seem to most want it to have happened.
I always thought that was weird, dude. It's like, dude, you should be like, that happened, but you're always like, no, it didn't happen, you know?
Oh, right.
It's really weird.
I don't know, man. But speaking of the deep state, the big story, actually, having nothing to do with that, was James Comey. The indictment that we were repeatedly assured by the Spurg right would never come down. The quality of it, we can debate, whatever, but here we go. Trump doubles down on 86's mob term for murder after Comey indictment over alleged threat. Does Trump have to double down on something that's widely known?
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Some are saying the 86-47 threat is weak sauce, but like, if I may advance a counterpoint, the very idea that the man who ran the FBI, an organization that spent a century doing literally nothing but mogging the mob, would be somehow unaware that 86 is mob slang for assassinate, that doesn't just strain credulity, it snaps it in half like a piano bench under Chris Christie's ass. Shut up. Can you say it's maybe weak from a litigation standpoint? Absolutely. But the idea that the head of the FBI wouldn't be aware of that, shut the fuck up. Go right ahead. Let's peruse, shall we?
President Donald Trump doubled down on his claim that the term 86 is a mob term for a killing, as former FBI Director James Comey faces a federal indictment over a social media post of Seychelles arrangement to read 8647. 86 is a... Oh, I'm sorry. This should be you.
What's that? Oh, 86 is a mob term for kill him. They say 86 him. 8647 means kill President Trump.
Trump wrote in a social media post Wednesday night before going on to assail Comey as a dirty cop.
Oh, don't make him sound badass now. Dirty cop sounds way too cool.
Comey, who was indicted on Tuesday by a federal grand jury in North Carolina, made an initial court appearance on Wednesday after self-surrendering to law enforcement at the courthouse in the Eastern District of Virginia. Comey did not enter a plea. The former FBI director, who was fired in 2017 by Trump during the president's first term, faces one charge of threats against the president and successors and one charge of transmitting a threat in interstate commerce.
People are, and it's right to point out this is unlikely to end in imprisonment, right? But think about discovery. Think about the discovery phase. That, to me, is the true reason for this indictment, because now we have an open warrant to search phones and other devices that might contain some kind of indicia of conspiracy to target a sitting president, which Comey all but certainly engaged in. Like, straight up. His entire career after Trump was elected was dedicated to the principle of destroying Trump. The thing that I hate the most about this is it plays into Comey's martyr complex, which you can see from space. You've been able to see Comey's martyr complex ever since Trump came on the political scene. He has been pretty well dedicated to trying to take down Trump the whole time, and he's just waiting to fall on his sword for this. I felt the same way about Brennan. I think Brennan is wired a similar way. They want to be perceived as martyrs for free speech. How do you guys feel about that? How does this, first off, before we move on, how does this grab you? Do you think the indictment itself is weak? What do you guys think about it? Taryn, you first.
I mean, I think it's very obvious that it was meant as they always play it two ways. It has a double meaning. They say, oh, it's a form of protest, but it's also a soft way of saying, hey, you know, like Hassan Piker says, someone's got to do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's exactly what he's hiding behind.
I mean, and not only that, but who made this the barrier to entry for threats? The left did on January 6th, didn't they? Because that weak sauce bullshit they claimed was an insurrection. if that's an insurrection, what is this? You know what I mean? They made it so that this kind of weak sauce shit can pass for a threat, because they claimed that was a threat to democracy. A bunch of unarmed boomers and grandmas and Spurg right guys, like that's what they claimed was an anyway. Sorry, I cut off before Tactical Hobo could reply. What about you, dude? How does this grab you?
Oh yeah, it's definitely one of those things. Like he knows exactly what it means, but he also knows that he can't probably get indicted for it because it's vague enough, right? 86, like it can also mean just getting like thrown out of a bar, or like I think in the military, like we 86 this old equipment, meaning we like got rid of it because it's surplus or whatever, that type of thing. So he knew exactly what he was doing, obviously.
Yeah, I keep hearing it'll be thrown out, and yeah, I agree. Our courts are shittier than the Ganges for one. But the solution to that, as I hasten to point out, and I've been pointing this out for years, on any major issue, by the way, that conservatives need to fight in court, the solution to that is, are you ready for this? Keep going. When the left lose in court, they keep at it until they win. Look at homosexual marriage. Look at abortion. When the right lose, all we ever get is, oh, shucks. At least we gave it our best shot. Fuck you, Fredo. Get back in there and try again until you win. When did we take this off the table in terms of tactics? Doesn't this drive you crazy, guys? The fact that the right are always like poised and ready to just lose with dignity on stuff like this?
No, it's totally a GOP Republican problem. We need to, I mean, let's just face it. A lot of people have been saying it. We need to replace them. MAGA is the new way. They're the new Republicans. They're the new conservatives.
Yeah.
We got to get rid of the old fucking rhinos so we can get some winners in there and start winning.
Right. The state electoral college issue, which I'm a big proponent of, as you guys know. I made a video about it, and I've mentioned it in as many videos as I possibly could. The state electoral college issue, I think, is really important because it furthers an idea that the founding fathers applied to the national level that is now a bigger problem on a state level. But there's some court precedents that preclude the enactment of the state level electoral college, at least in a certain way. And whenever I hear that, I'm always like, yes, and like, what would the left do? What did they do on the homosexual marriage bans? What did they do on the abortion bans? They just keep pushing the boulder uphill. They don't give a shit if it's a Sisyphean task. They do not care. That's politics. You keep investing on the fronts in the campaign that you want to ultimately win. I thought that was how this was supposed to work, for Christ's sake. Drives me crazy. Keep reading, Tara.
1 second here.
Mm-hmm.
I had to put down my keyboard. All right. Where did I leave off? The indictment centers on a controversy that erupted nearly a year ago when Comey, in a since deleted Instagram post, shared a picture showing the numbers 8647 written in seashells on the beach with the caption, "Cool shell formation on my beach walk."
Yeah.
8 miles out, 6 feet down. Didn't he also lie to the FBI about this? I think so. Oh, you were supposed to read that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
8 miles out, 6 feet down. Did he also lie to the FBI about this? I think so. He said on Wednesday night, describing his apparent interpretation of what the 8 and 6 represent. Interesting.
Trump said on
when
Wednesday
was
night,
that, by the way? If memory serves, wasn't that during the COVID lockdowns? Like he was in his live, laugh, love phase, and he was out on the beach collecting seashells. Like
I just got fired, but
soccer mom.
Yeah, I just got fired, but you know, I'm chilling. I'm writing a book. I'm gonna be working as a correspondent or an expert witness for like CNBC or something.
Right. I'm just glad something happened. We were told the nothing ever happens people are holding L's left and right all week. But anyway, keep going.
The Merriam-Webster dictionary, which lists several definitions of 86, says the most common use for the informal saying is to describe a way to refuse to serve or to eject or ban a customer from a restaurant.
Have you ever gone to a restaurant and been 86'd by anyone? Have you even heard the words 86 in a restaurant in your entire life?
It's fine.
Merriam-Webster's is such propagandistic horseshit. You remember that story? What was it during Gamergate where they were literally editing their definitions on the fly to suit narratives?
Yeah.
Fuck Merriam-Webster and fuck ABC for citing them. Seriously. Honk your fucking nose and ride your unicycle. We are keen to your bullshit. Keep going.
The dictionary says it's often used as a way to say something's been removed. The American Heritage Dictionary says the term may have derived as a rhyming slang for nicks.
Yeah.
The origin of the president's assertion that the term comes from the mob is unclear. Yeah, sure, buddy. A search of scripts from the American Film Institute top 10 gangster films shows no instances of the phrase being used. Top 10? You only went through the 10? Oh my God. This is super reliable, guys.
Yes, absolutely.
Despite Trump referring reports to mob movies on Wednesday.
Again, the most important thing about this anyways is the discovery, is them getting to look into other things. Because this guy's done the dirt, and we all know that. He's essentially just a political pawn who was in an office that was supposed to be apolitical, right? That's really the value in all of this. Plus, it's something Trump said he was going to do, so he did it.
Yep.
So once again, the nothing that never happens went ahead and happened.
I believe this next part is you, sir.
Oh, yeah. You ever seen the movies? 86 him. The mobster says to one of his wonderful associates, 86 him. That means kill him. I think of it as a mob term. He said, I mean, he is from New York.
Republican.
Oh, go ahead.
Republican Senator Tom Tillis said he did some of his own research on the term. Are we really pretending here? Oh, yes, I did some research on this very common thing that everybody fucking knows.
Well, ABC's comprehensive research was going to the Merriam-Webster's website.
And looking up top 10 gangster films.
Yeah, they went to IMDb and the Merriam-Webster.
Fucking riveting shit, guys.
Yeah, it's good stuff, dude.
I searched to the end of the internet last night. I can't find one example where the number 86 had anything to do with a violent threat. So hopefully there's more. Then why do people just fucking know it then?
And again, it's kind of irrelevant because one of the only circles of influence where 86 would mean this is the FBI, because they've been joined at the hip to mob investigations since their inception, since they were the Bureau of Investigation.
Tillis later added, maybe there's a deep history in the use of this word in communicating threats. I just can't find it anywhere. Well, try not looking up your own ass, and you'll find more. The Department of Justice is announcing the indictment that had been handed up.
Taryn getting a little irascible on us, by the way. He's getting a little cranky.
The fucking willing,
I know.
What do you call it? The willing ignorance, being
Yes.
willfully ignorant.
Yeah.
I fucking hate it. It's so dishonest. It's the worst kind of dishonesty.
It's the transient Mr. Magoo syndrome, right? Oh, I don't see the anvil hurtling toward us, conveniently. All right.
In announcing the indictment, said that a reasonable recipient of Comey's image who is familiar with the circumstances would interpret as a serious expression of an intent to do harm to the president of the United States.
Yeah, I don't expect much to come from that. Actually, you know what? Let me just take the temperature of the panel. Hobo, what do you think comes from this?
Well, like you said, the discovery is going to be interesting, but I'm sure he's probably got rid of most of the incriminating stuff. Like, I mean, the dude was in the FBI, the head of the FBI. He knows, what to do. So, like, some of these companies might have a whole trove of information, like Google and stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if they help him out. You know what I mean? Oh, we don't have it. No.
Yeah.
But he's probably smashed his own devices, the ones that are incriminating, or he will be, So,
well, I mean, we know he sent it. It's not like, I mean, is he gonna deny that he sent it? He knows he did it,
right? Yeah, it's kind of like, well, is a jury gonna think so? That's really what matters, I guess.
Yep. Let's see here. Off topic, but I would like to see more film noir videos. Also, do you have a P.O. box? I don't. I really need to open one. I have some Shadow Radio Show cassette tapes in the original box. That's really cool, but you don't have to send those to my ass. All right. A Naruto running assassin at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. The SPLC funding hate groups and possibly terrorism. Dude, Tactical Hobo, we talked about that last week. We got to get your take on the Southern Poverty Law Center basically funding the entire Groyper movement.
Dude, yeah, that's wild. Like, that's some stuff you can't make up, right? You can't make this stuff up, and then, like, you see it. I've been hearing about the SLPC, like Savage talked about them,
they
25 years ago.
When you and I first started out, they had him on all kinds of lists back in the day. I still remember that.
Yeah, so it's totally, I mean, it's not surprising. It's surprising, but it's also not. You're like, oh, yeah, I can see them doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Federal raids on Minneapolis Leering centers. Ooh, Taryn, do you have that queued up? That might be the next best thing to talk about. Ooh. And Mouse PI for Hire has underground dwelling shrews. One hell of a week, eh? Oy vey. Godspeed. Thank you, sir. As a patriotic American and devout Christian, what do you make of the fact that two of our most influential founders, Paine and Jefferson, both penned scathing criticisms of Christianity, the latter taking a razor to the Bible? They were deists, is my understanding, and that was pretty popular in certain quarters in England at the time. But the vast plurality of the founding fathers were Christians, so it's kind of irrelevant. Jefferson's important from a civics standpoint. I don't I don't look to him for religious guidance. I think it would be a problem if they were preachifying and inserting all of that into law, but there's no indication that they actually did. If anything, religion thrived when Jefferson was president. So I see no indication he was persecuting it. All right. What about you guys? Have you looked into some of the early founding fathers and some of their funky religious beliefs?
Yeah, I remember hearing about several of them being deists, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But that's really like...
It was sort of en vogue at the time.
Yeah.
An alarming number of Zoomers seem all too happy to embrace authoritarianism. Thoughts? Every generation that feels persecuted by the authoritarianism of the previous generation feels entitled to employ authoritarianism against said preceding generation. I think this is a repeatable pattern throughout world history, never mind U.S. history. That's what I put it down to. And you know what? They come by it honest in a lot of ways. These people, like if you're a Zoomer, you may, I think, I forget what the cutoff year is for Zoomers, but I think you never lived in a world that was not post 9/11, correct? So imagine the kind of, you lived in a post-Patriot Act, post-Iraq War, post-censorship of the internet, post-deplatforming, post-cancel culture. You lived in that world. Dude, they were born and bred in authoritarianism. Is it any wonder they're inured to its effects? Desensitized to it in some way? It doesn't surprise me at all. But I think a lot of that, too, is a lack of civics education. The more I learned about civics, the more I realized that the most ideal outcomes are achieved by knocking the teeth of government out and giving people free rein. Like the most healthy institutions naturally form themselves in the absence of coercion. There's this false binary where we've got to have a strong government or we've got to have anarchy. And the truth is that what you call anarchy is the pre-state to the establishment of institutions. And that's one of the reasons I find Old West and pioneer history so fascinating, is many of the most enduring institutions, the healthiest organic institutions, the ones that have endured, were products of basically frontier settlers, no law, no coercion, having to cooperate with each other because the alternative was blowing each other's fucking heads off. I find that fascinating. I think the cure for that is civics, really. Nobody gets a proper civics education anymore. Did you get any kind of a civics education in high school or college, Hobo?
Yeah, actually, in high school, we actually had a class called civics, and I recall it actually being pretty good, believe it or not. Sorry if you guys can hear that. There's a train going off.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there was actually, I actually had a class specifically called civics, and I had some good teachers, but I know not everyone did. And honestly, like, we're pretty far removed from like today's school, because honestly, I have no idea what they're teaching in school nowadays. But everything I've heard makes it sound insane. So,
Civil War, slavery, and Hitler.
Yeah, right.
That's
The big three. Okay.
Yeah,
That's it.
Unfortunately, all I had in school were who said it, but someone on social media was like, "It's the entire national debt. It's just all fraud, isn't it?"
A lot of it, absolutely. I mean, back in the 90s, what was the meme? The $500 for a hammer, $200 for a toilet seat thing?
Right. What was that recent story? I wish I had bookmarked it. Something about some state capital in a blue state. It was like, we're going to redo the steps up to the capital or whatever, and they were doing like $1 million a step or some shit for some fucking concrete.
Yep.
Oh,
pure graft, dude. And it's just absolute robbery. And what does that do? It further drives up inflation because they're printing money to compensate. And of course, inflation is a tax that nobody gets to vote on. At least if Congress get together and say, we're going to raise taxes, I can say, God, I should have voted for a different guy. But when Congress just prints money in order to compensate for these shortfalls in cash as a result of all of this graft and the government programs that inevitably attract such graft, that's money taken out of my pocket I don't ever get to vote for, and it never comes back. It never comes. I can't lower that tax until inflation is curtailed. It's not coming back to anyone. But yeah, keep going here.
For us, what do you have, Garrett?
Well, Sandra, several of the whistleblowers in Minnesota have told state lawmakers that by the time these investigations are through, they believe the actual size of this fraud, the amount of taxpayer dollars that has been stolen, could be higher than $8 billion.
Billion. Oh my God.
There you go.
We are already seeing some of that. 2 days into the Small Business Administration's investigation, Secretary Kelly Loeffler says the agency has uncovered at least $1 million in PPP fraud. And the state itself is now looking into the possibility of fraud in another Medicaid program. Minnesota's Department of Human Services is now pausing the issuing of new licenses for disability service providers over concerns of fraud after an explosion in the number of applications for new licenses over the past 5 years, going up 283%, while the number of people needing those services only increased by 25%.
There you go.
So what
There
happened?
you go.
Who was in charge those last 5 years? I forget.
Not only that, but how much of that is tied into the Somali refugee program? It's not called Minnesomalia for nothing. We're essentially subsidizing a foreign population with fraud, increasing inflation, reaching into all of our back pockets, and stealing our money with a tax that none of us vote on and none of us are allowed to vote against. That's what you're witnessing. I remember, Hobo, weren't you for a while like working in Minneapolis briefly?
Oh yes, actually, I worked there for about 3 weeks. Stayed near the Mall of America, and like the area I was in was Bloomington, and that area was pretty decent. But like I did see, when you ventured out, you would see quite a few Somalians, and this was back in like 2018. So this was before the Summer of Love, right? By a couple of years.
Yeah,
but
but
I'm sure
as
it's
we
gotten way
all
worse since
yes. But as we all know, and I went over, I forget which episode of The Offensive it was. We were talking about the Somali refugee program. It was probably the same one where we talked about Nick Shirley. I broke down the demographics and the timetable of what these waves of Somali immigrants are and when they showed up and what political unrest and military unrest in Somalia preceded their arrival. And that was part of a wave. You're talking about 2018. That was like shortly before that. It was the late aughts, early 2010s. It was that wave of Somali immigration that coincided with yet more military incursions and whatnot back in Somalia. And basically they're sending these remittances back to Somalia to try to affect essentially a political revolution to get the warlords out of power is basically what's happening. I strongly encourage you guys go back and watch our coverage of the Minnesota Somali stuff, because we went into quite a bit of detail. The thing other podcasts don't fucking do. Keep going.
Governor Tim Walz, who is up for re-election, is under fire for all of this happening under his watch, but he says they have investigated every claim of fraud that's come in, something whistleblowers dispute, and says the state is taking the steps it needs to keep it from happening again.
We've acknowledged that this is serious, needs to stop. It is stopping. People are continuing to go to prison. I think the good news for Minnesotans to know, when that 90-day pause is over and the third-party audits are done, we will have a better picture than we've ever had, which I think is really good.
While all of these investigations are getting underway, Republican lawmakers are
I love that he's saying we like he's going to be in office by then.
Yeah.
He's already said he's not running. He's done. He's riding off into the sunset. That retard will probably run for president. But anyway, keep going. He's trying to group himself in with the DOJ as they investigate this shit is what's going on.
New paid leave program launching next month that allows anyone in the state, regardless of their citizenship status, to take 12 weeks of paid leave a year paid for by the state.
Of course.
the moment that goes
Oh
into
my
effect, thousands of people are going to go for. Oh my God!
Not only that,
What
but
a
dude,
horrible idea.
yeah, but dude, you saw that Leering Center video from Nick Shirley. Hobo, did you watch that yourself? The actual video?
Oh, I think I saw parts of it. I need to
Yeah.
watch the whole thing.
Well,
actually.
if you watch that for any length of time, every time he turned up, no one was working. It was my impression that those people were kind of living on the premises. It seemed like whole families were staying there. They weren't really working there. They were essentially their homes that they were getting subsidized to live in. Nobody needs leave. They're already on leave. It's not even a business. Absolutely absurd, dude. Keep going to the end there.
GOP lawmakers say the program is ripe for abuse.
It was written so broadly that you can take advantage of it and abuse it, and no one's going to come looking for you. The taxpayers put in a bunch of money to launch the whole thing. So this is going to be the next horrible thing coming out of Minnesota.
And it's
The taxpayers. The taxpayers were the ones to pass that. Again, this is an issue with illegal immigration that you and I, Hobo, over the years have talked about, that illegal aliens not only leech off the system, they pay proportionately less taxes than normal. Yeah, they pay a little bit in sales tax, but even at that, they get so many subsidies. They get, welfare and EBT and all this. They pay less in sales tax because so much of their life is subsidized. They're already just leeching off the public teat. How does all that hit you guys?
So wait, I'm looking at this here, and it says like they want to give 12 weeks paid to anyone, right? So I've heard of like 12 weeks of paid parental leave, which even that, like, I'm not really in favor of being forced on companies.
Yeah.
But wait, this is just 12 weeks of leave. So we're talking, a company is going to pay, or the state taxpayers are going to pay someone to not work or do anything for 3 months.
Yep.
That's what we're doing now. We're paying for a third of the year, a quarter of the year, whatever. We're just paying people to sit around, apparently.
Yep. And of course,
Free money.
in that video, Tim Walz positioned himself as cooperating with the raids that occurred. And we know that's not true because the local government there in Minneapolis put out a tweet saying we did not cooperate with these raids. It's just bullshitting. He was just bullshitting. Dude, Tim Walz is going down in flames. It's crazy. It's actually kind of crazy that it's not a bigger story because his fall was so fast. It was grease lightning. I've rarely seen a decline that fast in my life. Timothy Vinch, it's really feeling like we're going to restart kinetics soon, I assume, in Iran. Maybe not this weekend, but soon. Even Pakistan is mostly shut up about the ceasefire. We should probably talk about that. That was another story from the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Yes.
That Trump said that we have essentially militarily defeated Iran, which, I mean, he could have said that the first week. Yeah, he could have said that the first week of the conflict and been just as correct as he is now. But here's a relatively brief clip here.
Yes, sir.
From the trenches of World War I to the beaches of Normandy, from the frozen hills of Korea to the scorching sands of North Africa and the Middle East. And we're doing a little Middle East work right now, too, if you might know. And we're doing very well. We have militarily defeated that particular opponent. And we're never going to let that opponent ever, Charles agrees with me, even more than I do. We're never going to let that opponent have a nuclear weapon. They know that, and they've known it right now very powerfully. But our countries from the...
Yeah. I think the operative issue you're running into there, Trump, is in order to surrender, you have to have a pulse. So kind of a logistical issue there. He's not wrong. The prevailing narrative in the Strait of Hormuz is essentially a camera negative of the actuality, at least on social media, at least on X. We're being told Trump has failed to open the strait. But who was there to begin with and thus should have enjoyed a theoretical advantage? Iran. It's not that Trump is failing to open the strait. It's that Iran has repeatedly failed to keep it closed. In a lot of ways, Trump is in the catbird seat. Like, worst case scenario, he can keep removing mines in the strait until they're all gone and gas prices will slowly stabilize. Like, what's Iran going to do? Drone their neighbors and piss off the entire planet again? And that's if they have any. I'm pretty sure the only drones Iran has left are hosting right-wing podcasts now. If he wants, Trump can leave a naval remnant behind, and every time Iran tries to close the strait or China tries to resupply them, he can drop the ether on their asses. Either way, gas prices will slowly drop, and either way, Iran loses. The stories you're being told are basically the exact opposite of the reality. It's fucking mind-blowing. The longer this goes on, the less the commentariat resembles reality. I don't get, it's not, in short, it's not about Trump's efforts to open the strait. It's about Iran trying to hijack the strait 3 times and failing to do so 3 times. I don't see any way Iran even achieves parity here. What about, how do these remarks grab you, Taryn, to start with? And what's your read on the situation as it stands? Do you agree with the super chatter that we might begin? I heard there was a rumor, for example, earlier today that Trump is mulling over some kind of surgical strike that might involve some kind of boots on the ground scenario.
I mean, it's possible, but really, I mean, if we're just speaking logically, there's no way for us to really know.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any like verifiable information, or like, are there helicopters buzzing around there? Are we getting jets ready to go? I mean, unless we hear some of that, then we really don't know. But I do agree, he is right. I mean, it's basically over.
Yeah. Hobo, any thoughts on his remarks there? Do you think it's cope? Do you think it's likely that there's any kind of surgical strike in Iran? Would you support it if it was? I personally have said in the past, if they put boots on the ground, I would support it if they get a declaration of war. I don't want one. I don't want a single boot on the ground unless we have an actual declaration of war from Congress.
Yeah, that's pretty damn unlikely, though. The declaration of war. But no, actually,
because they're dicking around.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I wasn't initially a big fan of like the operation over there in Iran, but it's not going as bad. It's clearly not going as bad as like some people are saying, because like the gas prices are going back down. I've seen that. They did go. The diesel prices here went up to almost to around 7, which is the most I'd ever seen. But it's gone down substantially since. So it's like, once again,
I filled up my tank yesterday. And it was still under $5 a gallon for unleaded or whatever. I don't know if that makes us a peculiarity or not, but what's it like over where you are?
I think it's like 4. It's around like 4 something, 28 or something like that. Yeah.
Which sucks. It does suck.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it hasn't been that high before, though, right? Because we were told it's going to be like $10 a gallon and all that. And for a few minutes, it looked like it was heading that way, but things have stabilized. And so, it's there's a lot of exaggeration, obviously, by people that don't like Trump. So
a ton.
Clearly.
And the op on our own side. There's just this bizarre spin. Like, you remember the first week of this war when Tucker claimed we'd suffer 20,000 casualties in the opening wave of the invasion?
That's really weird to say.
What? And you know what? I think, where do you think he got that from? He's a CIA brat. He got that from the spooks in his own social circle. That was probably their internal estimates. It turns out it was all a lie. Iran was never a military monolith. They had a 50-year-old aging stockpile of weapons, and yet they somehow held the entire region, even idiots in the West, hostage for years by virtue of the "it's not worth it" principle. That's what I'm seeing here. And okay, I'll put this other question to you. Whether we enact forcibly a regime change in Iran, do you think it happens just naturally?
On a given long enough timeline, yes, it would happen eventually.
Yeah,
But
the biggest problem right now is just the people in the cities, the police and the military police that have been, patrolling and actually shooting protesters and shit. You got to get rid of them. So if you can get rid of them, then I think it just happens naturally.
Well,
And-
consider this. Look at all the military equipment they just lost. 50-year-old military equipment, 50 years of military buildup, gone in a couple of weeks. They have to replace that. They have no money. The whole reason people are out in the streets protesting is the Iranian people don't have jobs and their money ain't worth shit. How much more of their money are they going to print so they can replace that military equipment? How are they going to get it into the country is another question. But how are the people going to support that? Are they going to, they didn't support any of the previous action. I think whether we push for it or not, regime change is almost guaranteed. And I don't even think it's on that long of a scale. Like, because it's one thing to keep a non-Islamic population subjugated by an Islamic foreign installed government by threat of force. It's another thing to try and do that when you just expose the fact that you were never quite the military terror that you claim to be. They just got exposed as an outright bitch in front of their own citizens who already are pretty keen on overthrowing them. So I don't think it would actually take that long, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I don't know. Do you think it would be on a longer scale or a shorter one, guys?
It was starting to look like, I mean, we had all those protests and everything, but man, like a lot of people, they killed what, 20, 30,000 people? I mean, that's the number that Iran killed of their own people. That's what Tucker should be talking about, right? Not us losing 20,000 people. It's ridiculous. But yeah, like the Iranian government is absolute shitbags, of course, right? So, I mean, I was kind of hoping they would end up doing it on their own, though. You know what I mean? But it's tough when you're in a country that like you can't own guns and everything, right? So,
yeah.
It's also a matter of just their ability. I mean, I don't know what the gun laws are there, but I imagine they're pretty fucking strict about the population having any kind of weapons. So it's like, I mean, how do you fight back?
They don't even have access to the internet. And for all the people who claimed, Pahlavi has no support inside Iran, did you notice that his posts lost like 40 million impressions after the Iranian internet was cut off?
Mm-hmm.
Where the fuck did that come from? Where'd it go? Oh, it's so ridiculous. They're being killed. They're being killed in large numbers. And Pahlavi at a certain point told them to stay inside. So there's also that. It's hard to stage a revolution from indoors. Usually doesn't work.
Also, I want to note, while we were talking about this, I've been watching the chat. A lot of people have been posting their prices in their state of gas. I've noticed a lot of red states, 5 and below. The blue states, a little higher than that.
Yep.
So
Oklahoma's probably 250 as usual or something.
It's not Trump, guys. The ones that are complaining.
There's also probably regulations that play into that. But, if I'm a Democrat and I have some extra regulations I can pull down to maybe turn the screws in a midterm that I desperately need to win because my party is facing existential annihilation, I'd probably turn that screw. You know what I mean? I probably do. As long as I get to use high gas prices as a talking point, right? Jesus loves us more than we deserve. Godspeed, boys. Thank you, sir. Dems will use young people unable to buy houses to get into power is the theory. Here in Massachusetts, you need to make $200K a year to buy a house. Even having a house nowadays, it's just absolutely insane. Okay, although it's too short to be full stream material, I highly suggest you check out the game Water Womb World. It's free. I don't know what that is, but Godspeed. More and more is Blackie Lawless's Babylon's Burning becoming full-on biblical prophecy. He was ahead of the curve on a lot of stuff with some of those albums. The Dominator album and the Babylon album in particular became rather prescient. Have either of you listened to those albums? I don't know. No. Hobo, are you a Wasp fan? You should be.
Yeah, no, I am. I haven't heard like all of their albums though, but absolutely. Like I had the first album. I think I've listened to that one a lot.
Yeah. Chat needs the Starting Soon song name. We did Primal Fear, Armageddon, and MK Ultra. What the hell was it called? It was MK Ultra Redline Warrior or Redline Hero. That's what that was. All right, let's see here. Virginia Supreme Court struck down redistricting. Were either of you surprised by that? You saw like the ridiculous map that the Democrats basically racially gerrymandered.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely saw it, but I'm just shocked as hell that there's anyone in Virginia that's left to put up a fight.
Yeah.
I can't believe their Supreme Court actually struck it down or had the balls to.
Democrats have, when they can't win elections, they try and steal elections. When they can't steal elections, they cling fast to the levers of power via the courts. They just overturn the will of the people. And this has been a pretty consistent theorem in their tactics. Really good example was that anti-illegal immigration law in California. What was that called, Hobo? You remember that one? In the early 2000s?
It wasn't SB 1070. That was Arizona's, right?
That was Arizona.
What the heck was it?
Which they also used the courts to strike down.
Yeah. It was like Prop 170 or something like that?
Yes, Prop 170, the big anti-immigration law in California, passed by a pretty comfortable margin. Courts strike it down. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, as usual. All right. The RA district's gone. Virginia drawn, possibly failed. DHS fully funded tonight. OPEC done. Yes, we're out of OPEC. Speaking of gas. And red states redrawing seats. We're gonna need a lot more lotion.
Yeah, if you wanted to talk about stolen elections, I got the next one up.
Oh yes. Speaking of which, right around that region, North Carolina uncovers 34,000 dead voters still on the rolls. State board admits it's higher than we anticipated.
Gee, you fucking think?
You think? Again, we were told this wasn't even true after the 2020 election.
Oh yeah, dead people don't vote. It most secure election ever.
It's a hoax. It was just fortified. We were told all this stuff is a lie. Go ahead.
The North Carolina State Board of Elections announced Monday that it has identified approximately 34,000 deceased individuals still listed on the state's voter rolls.
Yeah.
The discovery was made through a comprehensive data cross-check against the Federal Systematic Alien Verification for Entitlements SAVE database, the same system used to verify U.S. citizenship of registered voters.
Yep.
Officials submitted 7,397,734 voter records to the SAFE system in April as a part of an ongoing effort to clean up the voter rolls and ensure only eligible citizens can vote.
Yeah. Until they pad the rolls next election cycle, right?
Executive Director Sam Hayes admitted the massive number of deceased people on the state's voter rolls caught them off guard.
Sure it did.
While we expected to find some cases, this is higher than we anticipated. Hayes continued the benefit of entering into cross-state and federal database checks is that it allows us to uncover issues like this.
And again, why is this? We do have to pause to explain. Why do you have dead people on the rolls? It's because what they need to rig elections is unclaimed ballots. That's what they need. This is only part of the problem. If these people are still on the rolls, then their ballots can still be cast by someone else. Usually a harvesting operation. Both Republicans and Democrats do this, but Democrats disproportionately do it, as we saw in 2018, in 2020, in 2020, and on and on and on. So they basically wait until after election day and see what ballots were not claimed from the database. Presumably they have access to the database. And then they fill out those ballots for the candidate that they would prefer. And that's how you steal elections. It's very, very...
You get your 4 a.m. ballot dump.
Yes, that was the 4 a.m. ballot dumps is what that was. They had pre-filled out ballots. They just assigned them to people after the fact. Very simple. Again, this was one of the problems that I had with the Unleash the Kraken bullshit. Was there an electronic component to it? Yeah, but I've consistently said I think the Dominion software thing is almost a distraction. It's a component, but it's mostly a distraction. Most of the dirt was done the old-fashioned way. You wait until election day, you see who didn't show up to vote, and you vote on their behalf. That's why after the 2020 election, for years, people were checking election websites. Hey, wait a minute, it says I voted, but I didn't show up. Yes, you did, in spirit. And you're a Democrat. Did you know that? Keep going, bro.
Where did I leave off? So some cases higher than we anticipated. Our goal is to use every available and legal tool at our disposal to achieve the most accurate voter rolls possible. Now we must roll up our sleeves and begin the hard work to act of verifying that every person registered to vote in North Carolina is eligible. Our team, along with our state and federal, will do what is necessary to meet this responsibility. The press stressed
Anyone else just getting sick of Night of the Living Democrats every 4 years? Every 4 years, we have to watch the freaking Legion of the Dead do the Thriller dance into the voting booth and upend the legal result of election night. And they're already, I don't know if you saw, they're already counter-signaling, claiming that Trump is going to steal the midterms. Did you guys see that? What was that, the New Yorker or something? Like
No,
last time I checked, Trump wasn't the one who misplaced 20 million Biden voters between election cycles. But I can't believe that. Sorry, I interrupted. Were you saying something, Tactical Hobo?
Oh, it's just the usual, man. Like, yeah, this has been going on for a while now, and it is getting old watching this rerun over and over again.
They accuse us.
Yes.
Sorry, they just accuse us of what they intend to do.
Yeah. We see the rerun. Why? Because look how they scrapped and clawed and fought tooth and nail the Arizona audit. And that was only one county, dude. We audited one county and uncovered 5 times the amount of fraudulent votes as Biden's margin of victory, by the way. That's why. That's why. Keep going.
Let's see. The press release stressed that North Carolina already receives weekly updates on in-state deaths from North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, which are handled at the county level. However, the Save Match is helping catch voters who moved out of state, registered in North Carolina, and later passed away elsewhere, a gap that regular state processes missed. Election officials said that the presence of these names on the voter rolls does not mean that illegal votes were cast in their names.
No. We checked that homework in 2016. You remember that with the Jill Stein audit in Michigan and Minnesota and whatnot. They actually listed the voters. I remember what was the podcast that went over this? I think I mentioned this in a video or whatever. Somebody actually got a hold of the voter roll data and went through and, hey, look, here's this dead guy. Hey, this guy was born in 1892. Hey, this was right. And they went down. That was 2016, guys. That was 2016. How much worse was it in 2020, do you think? And how much worse has it become in the interim? Keep going, man.
Let's see. Election officials said that the presence of these names on the rolls does not mean illegal votes were cast in their names. The board says it will now follow established verification procedures, cross-check additional databases, and work with county boards to remove the deceased voters. Republican North Carolina Congressman Mark Harris reacted on X, calling the situation a failure and demanding immediate action. This isn't a mistake. It's a failure, Harris wrote. He continued, election integrity is non-negotiable. Fix it now. Pass the Save America Act.
We have the most third world elections. I mean, it's just insane. When you hear about, and shoot, if anyone's watching from like Europe or anyone's watching from another, even Mexico, for crying out loud, they have voter ID. Like the basic security measures that we refuse to implement because it's cast by Democrats as voter suppression. You're all about the European model until it comes to election day. Then it's suddenly voter suppression. Apparently, these are the most oppressive regimes on planet Earth until it's time to replicate their socialist governmental structures. You know what I mean? What the hell? What would be the bare minimum, Hobo, that we should be implementing on election day? I'd say paper ballots, same day. If you can't finish the count on election night, the rest of the votes get thrown out, for crying out loud. We have to cut off at a certain point. We can't just keep counting for weeks and weeks and weeks until we finally get the result we want.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Paper ballots, ID in person, and very limited like absentee ballots, like for military and stuff like that, right? But like just the way we've been doing it is totally insane. I mean, I'm just gonna, I think I mentioned it a while back, but like there was a recent like special election at my parents for the school board or some crap, and like literally you had to do mail-in votes. You couldn't show up and do it in person.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah, we need election day, not election week.
Election month, more like, dude. You remember the Martha I always refer back to the Martha McSally Kyrsten Sinema election. I had never seen anything like. Actually, I saw it one time before, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But on election night, 99% of precincts reporting Martha McSally's up by 2-3 points. It's unassailable. She's won. And for the second time in my lifetime, they, for some reason, even though they said publicly many times, we pride ourselves on having all the mail-in ballots counted on the morning of election day, having 80 to 90% of them counted. Suddenly, for the first time in a long time, they had to keep counting, and they kept counting, and they kept, and I think it was 2 weeks later, you guys could correct me if I'm wrong, they finally, 2 weeks later, Kyrsten Sinema overtakes Martha McSally and winds up being the senator of Arizona, being the first Democrat senator since the mid-90s when Dennis DeConcini, his corrupt ass, was the last Democrat. The previous time that I'm referring to, you remember Janet Napolitano, dude?
Who could forget her?
3-way race. They had Matt Salmon, freaking stick in the mud, Mormon rhino guy running for the Republicans. They had Rick Mahoney, who was pretending to be an independent, but we found out later he was a Democrat operative who was only splitting the ticket. And then you had the Democrat, Janet Napolitano, who wound up being in the Obama administration. First time in my life, they kept counting mail-in ballots and counting mail-in ballots. And you remember how long it took for us to find out who the governor of Arizona was? We didn't find out till January. They started counting in November, and they kept counting till January until we had a Democrat governor. Freaking crazy, man. Freaking crazy. Crazy how it always benefits one side, isn't that nuts?
That was like 20 years ago, too.
Yeah, that was quite a while ago.
I believe that was the beginning of the end. That's when we started getting all the corrupt politicians moving in here from Arizona.
Sorry, guys.
I tried to talk while you were gone. Why don't we take this moment to read some rumbles?
Oh, yeah, please
Rumble
do.
rants. Random Nobody. Last 2 years have proven to me that new media content creators are snakes.
Yeah.
Probably talking to like Candace Owens and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Mercenary X, we got a few from him. Okay, that's weird. Even Rumble is not showing you on my timeline. Now that you started, I just caught you now. Did you see the scientist Twitter, the one who disappeared apparently several years ago, put up the shooter's name on his Twitter? The only tweet he ever had. Oh, yeah. People figured that out. They make a random account. They tweet a bunch of random bullshit. But, they put it on private. They put it on private, then tweet a bunch of shit. Then when something happens, they delete everything except for one tweet and make the Twitter profile public. That's how it works.
Freaking weird.
It's a magic trick.
A magic.
And he continues. Did you see? No. I read that. I tagged you and Tara in a couple of videos by Salty Cracker. You need to see because it's scary how this is set up. There's no way you can explain this. And we'll read one more.
I did want to talk about this. Mage Leader mentions it. I know there's a lot of politics to discuss, but rest in peace to spiders.
Yeah.
I'll be in mourning for a while, I think. We were big champions of Spider Studios. We reviewed several of their games, I think starting with Bound by Flame, right?
I thought no. I think was Mars Warlogs one of the first ones we streamed?
We didn't review Mars Warlogs. That was the first one we played, though, and I was pleasantly surprised by that game. Greedfall Studios Spiders shuts down as Nakon's financial crisis. This is a big deal because we're in the middle of a AA gaming renaissance, kind of, and these guys were the tip of the spear on that. They released some of their best AA RPGs in the years where, man, it was not that profitable to be a AA studio. The situation around Nakon's financial troubles has taken a serious turn. Spiders, the studio behind Greedfall and Steel Rising, Patui, has officially shut down after confirming it is being liquidated. The studio itself shared the news, saying the company will cease operations immediately. That means Spiders no longer exists as an active development team, ending years of work on RPG projects that had built a dedicated fan base. When you heard this, Taryn, what did you think?
I was deeply saddened. I mean, these guys were making the only unique games in a sea of AAA slop, as I said.
Yeah.
But no, we're never gonna get another Spiders game, and I can't believe it.
And bad news for us fans of Styx, the Styx stealth series. Cyanide Studios is in trouble. Spiders filed for insolvency before they were shut down. Cyanide has done step one. They have filed for insolvency. So they are on the chopping block. And I'm really, really worried about them because they make really good games. They've been pretty much the only horse in town doing stealth games for a while there. I love their games. When I played Bound by Flame, I didn't expect anything. You remember? That was a roll of the dice.
That was one of our famous. Grab a game off the shelf. We'll see how it plays. What happens?
Blew my mind. If you like kind of Dark Souls, but Mass Effect, but Dragon Age, whatever, dude, it came out of nowhere. Blew my mind. Loved it. Gave it a rave review. I couldn't believe how good it was. And then Technomancer came out. That was the titties. I loved Technomancer. Technomancer is kind of the soft sequel to, or maybe a little bit of a sidequel to Mars Warlogs, which is also good. I think, what do you think led to this? I think it was Steel Rising. They jumped on the Dark Souls bandwagon when they shouldn't have.
Yeah, that was definitely a mistake. It felt like, was that around when Lies of P was announced? Like maybe they were trying to compete.
Yep, absolutely. Hobo, did you play any of their games? Greedfall or Bound by Flame or any of those?
I don't think I have, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they're not really like your style or anything, but they were good, man. If you liked those kind of games, they were freaking great single-player games. AA games that they punched way above their weight. And Greedfall, for a lot of people, came out of nowhere. And it was like, what the hell? This great freaking, like, new world Pilgrim, like almost a Solomon Kane open world RPG. We streamed it several times. I love it to pieces. I think the other big misstep they made was Greedfall 2, which we streamed the early access. They never should have done early access. They never should have done it. You're not Baldur's Gate 3. You're just not. You shouldn't have done it. I think it cost them money. I think it killed the hype for the game. The thing that I said, you remember me saying this several times about Baldur's Gate 3, that I was worried about was with the pre-release thing, I was worried that it was going to kill the hype for the game. That didn't happen with Baldur's Gate 3. It blew up anyways. Probably because it's Baldur's Gate and it turned out to be so freaking great. That did happen with Greedfall 2. The exact thing I was worried was going to happen with Baldur's Gate 3 is what happened to Greedfall 2. And Greedfall 2, I don't think was as good as Greedfall 1 at all. The mirroring the story from the Native American side, essentially, I just didn't give any kind of a shit about that story personally. Did you?
Sorry. No, honestly, Greedfall 2 was kind of weak. I saw the potential, but it needed way too much work. Early access was definitely a mistake.
Yeah. The root of the issue goes beyond a single developer. Nacon's troubles reportedly began after its majority investor, Big Ben Interactive, lost a refinancing deal. That triggered insolvency filings and forced the company to look for ways to recover financially. Studio sales were one possible solution, but without buyers, and that's the thing that happened here, they were put up for sale and no one bought them. For shame, by the way. Spiders are incredibly talented, and they would have been an asset to any publisher that bought them. Because, again, with very little resources, they were punching way above their weight. Imagine what they could do if they were owned by an EA. Imagine what they could do if they were owned by a Microsoft. Dude, you're freaking missing out. You're better off with them, Microsoft, than you are keeping one half of Arcane Studios, who are like 4 flops deep. Ridiculous. At least Spiders had a hit relatively recently. If more closures... Oh, sorry. What's up?
I was just gonna say, when Nacon purchased Spiders, I knew it was a bad idea because we had seen too often publishers buying up studios and just icing them. Yeah. I mean, one bad game is all it takes, and they just get rid of them. Spiders was definitely hey, they were struggling, but they were way better off staying independent.
Yeah.
At least then they could have gone out on their own terms.
They were one of those many Focus Interactive kind of properties.
Yeah,
we seem to go through these phases where these companies come around and they fund a lot of European studios for a while. Like for a while, you remember South Peak Games? They were funding a lot of that stuff. And then Focus Home Interactive seemed to pick up the bit after them. And then Nacon came in. And I got to be honest, I've not been impressed with Nacon at all. They're not even up to the level of South Peak, to be perfectly honest. Does South Peak even exist anymore? I still remember them popping up on every like AA 360 era game that popped, like Velvet Assassin. I remember Two Worlds. Remember that? The Unholy Taint. So rip in peace, Spider Studios. I really loved that studio, and I'm going to miss them a lot because they were picking up the bit when, dude, BioWare was in free fall. Like, how many RPG studios that we all loved were just releasing shit? Just terrible. And speaking of releasing shit, Taryn, Tactical Hobo, like us, is a big James Bond fan. What Bond games have you played, Hobo? Just GoldenEye?
No, I played a bunch of them, like Nightfire. Actually, man, Nightfire multiplayer was like a lot of fun split screen. I remember having some good times with friends on GameCube. Yeah, like World Is Not Enough. There's a lot. I don't
You remember the all-nighters on birthdays doing GoldenEye?
Oh man,
freaking multiplayer classic.
Yeah,
I mentioned this to Razor. Nightfire is just such a great fucking name for a Bond game.
It is. It is. It absolutely. So is Everything or Nothing, which what an underrated game that was.
But you know what's not? First Light.
What the hell is that? What in the hell is that name even?
Let's find out.
Yeah, so this is the last trailer. It's really, really short. It's just more of a teaser than anything. I want to get Hobo's unvarnished reactions to some of this.
Here we go.
By the way, before you start it, it's made by the studio that made Hitman. So keep going.
Listen carefully. You have less than 1% chance of success. Now stand down.
I'll take those odds.
Okay, pause. Hobo. Just the look of James Bond.
I mean, he looks like
Bland. James Bland.
Yeah, he looks like generic, like soldier from like Black Hawk Down. He reminds me of like freaking Ewan McGregor from Black Hawk Down. That's what he looks like.
Yes.
He looks like he's from the fucking CW.
Yeah, or FX Network action.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's perfect. I like that
very much.
It's FX fucking James Bond.
All it's missing is the piss yellow filter. So some driving segments. Which isn't that kind of reusing a segment from Casino Royale?
Yeah, the parkour section. Also,
Yeah,
I just
the
realized we
parkour,
probably should have muted that. We're probably gonna have to cut that out.
Probably we'll have to mute that segment. But fortunately, we didn't really talk over it, so we don't lose anything. Okay, gameplay wise, Hobo, what's that look like to you? And does it excite you at all, or?
I mean, it looks okay. It doesn't excite me a whole lot, but like, you know, that's just not what I think of with like James when I think of James Bond, because I still think of like when I think of James Bond games, I still think of Pierce Brosnan, right? Because I'm a '90s kid, so
Right.
that's like the first thing I think of is like Pierce Brosnan. I'm like, that just looks like it could be any random dude, you know, like running around there. I guess I don't know.
Thank you. Okay, before I give my thoughts, Taryn. Darren?
Yes. Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I agree. I agree with Tronathon. It looks like Uncharted. It looks like a dumbed down adventure game with cover mechanics and forced stealth. Like
It looks like Uncharted fucked Splinter Cell Conviction.
Yeah.
In other words, to use an IO Interactive maxim, it's Hitman Absolution. The worst Hitman game under the yellow sun. I just, everyone's pointing out, and initially I was really excited because of IO Interactive, but everyone's pointing out, but it's IO Interactive, the guys who did Hitman. I hasten to point out that no, this is IO Interactive, the guys that made Kane and Lynch 2. This is more of an action game. This is more in the vein of Kane and Lynch 2, and that sucked. That game really, really sucked. This has just as much chance to suck as it does to rule. That's what I worry about. If they steer into the Hitman, it would freaking rule. If they steer into Kane and Lynch, fuck that. Especially Kane and Lynch too. Yeah. So, I don't know. What's your ideal Bond game? I'm going to ask both of you this. Taryn, what does your ideal Bond game look like? I want to ask the chat that too.
No, an existing game or like make one up?
Yeah, like what does your ideal Bond game look like? Because you and I have talked in the past about like what we've still got some living Bond actors. What if they brought in Pierce Brosnan and Dalton and maybe did like a flashback kind of a game where it was like set pieces from previous movies or new ones, and right? Because you could voice acting, you can use whoever you want. They did a Sean Connery game that, it was old man Sean Connery, but we didn't give a shit. From Russia with Love, it ruled. It was a good game.
Off the top of my head, imagine this. Picture it. The 1980s. Because people fucking love Vaporwave and all this shit.
Yeah.
1980s Bond. Period game. You bring back Timothy Dalton.
Would be awesome.
What people would buy. Oh my God. It would sell 1 million immediately.
Yeah. Easy.
And you could have a game where it's like you actually have decisions, you have branching pathways. Maybe instead of going to Prague, you go to Paris. You're following a bad guy across the world. People would love that, and you wouldn't have to do too much.
Grey Wolf Leader adds to that thought. GoldenEye plus Nightfire with stealth elements of Splinter Cell and Thief. Kind of cool. I mean, keep in mind
that would be my game. That would be my game.
Yeah. Hobo, what's your ideal game? Is it more of a shooter? Is it more of a stealth game? Is it a mix of the two? Who's Bond? Is it older Bond? Is it younger Bond? Is it regular middle-aged Bond? Do you use any of the old voice actors? What does your Bond game look like, man? And is this anything close to it?
I mean, not that. I would say not would not be my ideal, but because like really, I mean, you would probably want to base it like based off of the movie-ish character. That just right, and there hasn't been a Bond movie in 5 years now, anyway. But like the coolest thing to do, I mean, you sort of like alluded to it, but like yeah, like sort of one. This would have had been done years ago when more of the actors were alive. But like yeah, you could have maybe a few levels of like with all of them in it. That would be like really cool. But you know, they could still do something with Brosnan and like Dalton. But yeah, like actually, so we had a lot of James Bond games that were either first person or third person. I mean, the ideal thing nowadays would be to be able to switch between the two, right? That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I dig that. I like the idea of. I don't hate that they're going with a video game Bond here, like a different James Bond. It's kind of cool to have just a video game focused Bond actor. But dude, this guy it's James Bond Jr. It's not even, it doesn't feel like James Bond, and it doesn't look like, if that didn't have Bond music on top, that would just look like Uncharted. It would look like a shitty clone of Uncharted with some Splinter Cell Convictions. And Splinter Cell Convictions sucks, guys. It's terrible. Go watch our Splinter Cell retrospective. Sorry, what?
No, it's just I agree totally. Without the Bond name, it just looks like Pee-wee fucking Uncharted game. Like it could literally be anything.
Yeah. It looks like it was made in a boardroom. It very much does. That's what I worry about, man. IO Interactive, I get that you're the Hitman studio. That doesn't mean you have to make a dedicated stealth game like Hitman. But if this game was going to lean harder in one direction than the other, it needed to lean harder in the direction of Hitman than in the direction of Uncharted. In fact, fuck any Uncharted influence. I'm so sick to death of that formula. I'm sick to death of chest-high walls and dudes with goofy, one-strap backpacks on and, turbo-cueled mark and execute headshot kills. I just hate it. And gimped stealth. Tired of looking at them. Tired of it in games.
Okay, so dude, I gotta say, like, guys, you might hate me for this here. Underrated game though, GoldenEye Rogue Agent.
I didn't hate the gameplay in that. I didn't hate it. Wasn't there like a gun limit? You could only hold so many. That was the thing I think I hated the most.
Well, that was kind of ahead of its time because that game's from like 2004, and you could hold. Yeah, I think you could have 2 weapons, so it was a little more, real, trying to be realistic. But I remember the multiplayer was like really fun. Like they had the level with the Golden Gate Bridge with the blimp, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, you press the button and like the blimp shot like out of a minigun or something. I remember that level was awesome.
Yeah. I didn't hate it as much as some other people did. So you know what one I have heard is underrated? I've never been able to play it. I'd love to. Hope they make it available on some storefronts at some point, is 007 Bloodstone. Supposedly that's the best Daniel Craig Bond game. Supposedly it's really, really good, kind of an original story, kind of like a standalone Daniel Craig Bond movie in video game form.
I remember playing the demo for it and liking the gunplay, but I can't really remember anything else about it.
Yeah. I already answered this one earlier, but it was MK Ultra.
Somebody ban that man. 007, the Third Age. Fuck you.
MK Ultra, a Red Line Hero is the name of that song. So Godspeed. All right. Trump to Cole. That wasn't very cash money of you. Oh my goodness. What do you call a cardboard box in a New York alley? Premium housing. Squatters' rights also. The day you took a shot at me was probably the greatest day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday. Godspeed. RFK Jr. during an assassination attempt. My time has come. All right. Godspeed. Anyone else hear the Sonic music in the security vid? I don't know what you're talking about. When they try to unsuccessfully off Trump one more time, he should win free Big Macs for life, right? Why would they try so hard to assassinate the McDonald's Employee of the Month is my question. I hope the left is ready to get it was staged responses anytime they complain about anything, which, in case we forgot, is all the time. No shit. Don't most shows have a stage? I don't see the issue. Thanks, Dad. If you want to prove your lack of political knowledge, you were one of the doofuses saying this guy was paid by somebody, as if radicalized people for a decade need a paycheck for something they would do for free. Exactly. All right. How does that grab me? Like a JP Morgan executive. Oh, no. Should we talk about this story?
Well, I mean, if we have time.
Should we talk about it? This story fell apart at Mach speed. Let's read the early account of it. This Pajit guy who claimed that a female executive at JP Morgan Chase had sexually abused and drugged him. He was basically a sex slave. This chick. What the hell?
A top staffer with financial institution JP Morgan Chase is accused of sexually abusing a junior male colleague and threatening his career. The accused was identified as Lorna Hadini, who was an executive director at JP Morgan Chase's leveraged finance division.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Did
you see the picture of the guy?
Not yet. Let's save it.
Do you have it?
Okay, I don't know. It'll probably be in the article.
I hope so. We'll see. If you
JP
don't, I'm
Morgan,
going to have you look it up because it must be seen to be believed.
A JP Morgan executive director is being sued for turning a married male broker into her office sex slave. She allegedly drugged him with Viagra, used racial slurs, forced non-consensual sex acts while he cried and threatened his career.
Did this chick just get he-too'd? Like, I didn't even know that was an option.
According to what appeared to be in her LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. Please go over the accusations themselves, because this shit is ridiculous.
Referring to the married banker as a brown boy Indian, Hadini is believed to have drugged him and even threatened his career and if he refused non-consensual and humiliating sex acts. A sexual assault and racism are not funny, joking matters. Okay, maybe kinda, though. Hold on, let me bring this up real quick and see if there's anything. Hello, can I not? Okay.
Oh, it might be a screenshot.
Yeah, hold on. Oh, here we go. Allegedly removed her shirt, began fondling her breasts, and racially insulted Doe's wife, remarking, "I bet your little Asian fish head wife doesn't have these cannons." Doe claims she then forcibly removed his pants and performed oral sex on him against his will. He continued to protest and began to cry. Apparently, she admonished him for crying and scolded him for failing to achieve an erection. Stop fucking crying. You think anyone would ever believe you? You're a fucking douchebag who thinks he's hot shit, but you can't even get your dick hard for me. What the fuck is this?
Dude, this guy wasn't drafting a complaint. He was writing a slash fic. This is amazing.
I believe these stories typically appear in Penthouse magazine.
Yeah, no kidding.
During the second encounter, she allegedly ordered him to suck her toes, pushed him to the ground, and sat on his face, berating him when he was unable to sustain arousal.
Oh, no.
I am very uncomfortable. Please, Lord, please. I am begging you.
Do not redeem.
But she allegedly laughed before making a racist remark that at least his genitals didn't taste like curry.
I was gonna say, dude. Oh my! When I heard that, I fell the fuck out, dude. You mean accusations that literally, unironically include the phrase, and I quote, "Your balls don't smell like curry," were of dubious provenance. Will wonders never cease?
I'm gonna scroll to see if there's actually a picture of this.
Anyone
dude.
know if she's single?
No kidding.
I don't
So
know.
this fell apart. They revealed the guy.
Oh my god, he's on the second article. I'm bringing this up immediately.
Yep. Here we go.
Ta-da.
And press X to doubt. Slam X to doubt. Hit X to doubt with your erect dick 200 times in rapid succession. This guy has an animatronic head. This is okay. So now we have to speculate. What is this? I'd say maybe he had an affair with the woman and tried to cover it up by making up these accusations to placate his wife. But now that we've seen his burn victim ass, we all know that's not true. So what is this? Racially motivated Me Too? What the hell is this?
God, I'm at a loss. Because if he finds
What's his game? What is
if
his
he finds out that if they find out that he's lying, like the punishment, like what's the risk? The risk and reward doesn't balance out here.
Yeah. Because first off, nobody believes these kind of accusations from a dude, first off. Especially not when the dude looks like he has a silly straw chromosome. I mean, look at this freaking... He's freaking Pajit version of Lurch. Keep going.
Sure. A former JP Morgan staffer who sources identified as Chirayu Rana has been accused of making fabricated sexual harassment claims against a high-ranking executive at the bank after an internal investigation found no evidence of wrongdoing.
Holy shit. Stop the presses. Can I highlight this account, this comment before it moves? Oh no, I can't. There we go. Look at him again. Look at him again. Scroll down. I can't unsee it. Count Chocula.
Wow.
Oh no.
It's Count Chocula.
Oh no. Nobody Photoshop that. Don't do it. I'm too lazy to do it.
He's got...
But don't do it.
Thanks for ruining that cereal now, damn it.
Right. Now, if the bitch looked like Boo Berry, I'm just done. What the shit? What are we even doing?
Give me a second here. I'm comparing dates here.
I love you, Razor Force. I love you. In the immortal words of Michael Jackson, I love you. I love you. Oh my gosh.
Wait a minute. This was the same day. These two articles came out on the same day.
It fell completely apart within hours. Everybody was laughing about it, making fun of the chick. And the whole time I was like, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't. I made a tweet where I was like, and then this happened, and then this happened. And it sounded like a 5-year-old lying about why their homework was missing. Like, it just sounds like such bullshit.
Yeah, for those of you watching, I flipped between both articles and looked at the dates of them, literally hours apart.
Yep.
These accusations were thrown out almost immediately.
From 0 to debunked in like 5 hours flat.
Multiple
Crazy.
sources told the Post that 35-year-old Rana, now a principal at investment firm Bregal Sagemount, is the man who brought the bombshell lawsuit against Lorna earlier this week. Rana's suit, filed on Monday under the pseudonym John Doe, accused the 37-year-old executive director of turning him into her sex slave by drugging him with some drug and Viagra and threatening to slash his bonus if he did not comply.
Right.
Okay. The Daily Mail broke the story on Wednesday evening, citing lurid details from a now retracted court document that has since been withdrawn for corrections.
Corrections!
Yeah, I'm sure he'll come back with that.
Bro, this guy's gonna wind up in the pooper pounding kind of corrections. Dude, absolutely, this is ridiculous. Count Chocuri. Sorry, I saw this and I couldn't not put it on screen.
So good.
Count.
That's so good. I'm mad I didn't think of it.
Right?
The
he looks like Bobby Boucher from Waterboy.
The British tabloid.
H2O.
The British tabloid, quoting the now deleted court papers, reported that Haddini, executive director on JP Morgan's leveraged finance team, even turned up unannounced to Rana's apartment and forced him to have sex. Maybe he was cheating on his wife, and this is like him covering.
But dude, do you see her lowering herself to freaking the?
I mean, women
the
do
freaking
some
Indian Easter Island statue looking dude.
Now I know this will shock you, but women have been known to lower themselves. Okay.
Yeah, don't I know it?
She hit back in a statement issued to the Post via her lawyers. Lorna categorically denies the allegations. She never engaged in any inappropriate conduct with this individual of any kind and has never been to the location where the alleged sexual assault supposedly took place.
Yeah, this is total bullshit.
Rana, who did not reply to the Post's multiple requests for comment, claimed that the alleged coercion began shortly after he joined JP Morgan's leveraged finance team in the spring of 2024. He filed an internal complaint in May of 2025 alleging race and gender-based harassment.
See,
and
that
abuse
right
of
there,
power.
the race and gender-based harassment shit leads me to believe this is like this guy's kind of an anti-white racist is kind of
That or a money grab. Because if this taking place in Britain, because this sounds like it's from what I've read so far that this is like a Chase branch.
Well,
in Britain.
Gubermensch says it's an Indian intel op. It's Mossad.
But if this is happening in Britain and he's bringing up the race, and maybe he's just looking to make a quick buck. Like, I hate to say it, but this Indian guy might be a scammer.
I might, yeah, you think?
But yeah, it sounds like he might just be trying to get some like an easy paycheck.
Yeah.
Out of this.
How happy are you knowing Howling Mutant is a fellow Kojima hater? He follows me, so of course he's a Kojima hater. He has good taste, good enough taste to follow me. Godspeed.
He filed for an internal complaint in May 25, right? Before trying to negotiate a payoff that ran into the millions to leave the company. He wanted money. This was money. Yeah.
He wanted cash, and I think he's also a racist. I think that's what's going on. Maybe those are your two motivating factors. What about you, Hobo? What do you think is going on here? This is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Just a side note there. It did say New York Supreme Court. So, yeah. It's
New York.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's pretty liberal. That's liberal enough, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the obvious answer is, yeah, it seems like just wants money. I mean, it seems extremely unlikely that what he's saying happened. I mean, who would even believe that, right?
Yeah.
That's just totally like insane.
A bank spokesperson who refused to be drawn on the identity of Doe said a thorough internal probe by the bank's HR department and in-house lawyers, which included a review of team phones, records, and emails, found no evidence to support them. Following an investigation, we don't believe there's any merit to these claims, the spokesperson said. While numerous employees cooperated with the investigation, the complainant refused to participate and has declined to provide facts that would be central to support his allegations.
Well,
oh my
that's
God.
The internet, no facts required. And it was originally reported in a British tabloid. So facts not only optional, but openly despised.
The entire thing is like he made it sound as insane as possible. It's like, dude, if you wanted people to take you seriously, like make up something that sounds less batshit insane, right? Like out of a porno magazine or something. That's what it sounds like when he's talking about. Like that dude, what?
Yep. All right.
But if you want to read a few super chats real quick.
How many X doubt can we press? 1, 2, 3, 4, We have counted 4 doubts so far. Will we get more? Godspeed. Young Grandpa Munster. There we are. An Indian lying. The devil, you said. Yeah, he's lying. Godspeed. Amazing disgrace. I believe the flaccid and crying part. You know, you could maybe sell me on that. You could maybe sell. Is this Jennifer Aniston from Bad Bosses? Could be.
Hey, Razor.
What's up?
Oh.
Did you make that?
No, someone in our Discord did.
Literally all of 5
I
minutes.
love the dude.
All of 5 minutes.
Razor
AI,
common
AI
Razor
has its
Force
uses.
W.
AI has its uses.
Yeah. So he's a serial rapist?
He totally reminds me of somebody, but I can't put my finger on it.
Right.
Who the hell is that?
I know.
Totally
He
looks like
kind of
somebody.
reminds me of the player that Andy Kaufman played on Taxi. A little bit. What if she did this because no one would ever buy it? You know what? I did see a great tweet from Captive Dreamer where he said, okay, note to self, only sexually harass really ugly people. 350 spices of lust. Do not redeem this relationship. All right. My favorite part is how people initially believed the story because the woman was Albanian and then believed the woman once everyone learned the accuser was Indian. Oh, no.
The judge should say, do not redeem
Oh, my
in court.
God. He kind of looks like Michael Knowles at Daily Wire.
Actually,
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he was repeating Tradcath slop talking points, I could buy it. Bodybuilding ninjas with Dill does kidnapped you? Right. Why do I feel that he's connected to Somalia? I don't know. This guy's story is so unbelievable. I think he forgot to accuse MJ, right? About to talk about MJ, guys. About to talk about MJ. Wanted to thank you for the brief conversation on X. I hope the mini terrain I found for you does the job. I have a lot more questions, but I know you're a busy guy. Wish us luck on the kid number 2. Godspeed and way to procreate, bro. See here. So how about that Supreme Court decision slapping the race-based gerrymandering down? We just talked about it. It ain't state electoral college, but it's a step closer. We need to be pushing on state-level electoral college. Desperately. Desperately. I enjoyed Splinter Cell Conviction, and you admit this in front of witnesses. Out of left field, a good Bond game could be an RPG allowing you to talk your way out of situations. Would fit for a spy game. Well, this game does have dialogue. It does have dialogue sequences, and you do get to pick your responses. I don't know how elaborate they are, but Razor, if you can't find Bloodstone on PC, you can always download Xenia. Disavow. Sir, do not me too. It's he too. Thank you very much. Ideal Bond game. The man with a golden gun meets the living daylights. Timothy Dalton's James Bond versus Christopher Lee's Francisco Scaramanga. Who would do Christopher Lee, though, in that game as the voice actor? Dude.
Whoever they got to do Count Dooku on the Star Wars Clone Wars show.
Oh, I know that voice actor. Yeah, he does everything. He does lots of cartoons and stuff. I forget what the guy's name is. New Kojima game, Metal Bashir Solid. Godspeed. That's Indian Michael Knowles. It kind of is a little bit. He looks like the vampire from Hotel Transylvania. Kind of. I don't know. Snidely Whiplash's post-op got him to Wall Street. I see. Solid Snake. Yeah, Colonel. Metal Bashir. It's Indian Christopher Mintz-Plasse or the nerd villain from Megamind, but let's be real. There's no way a Dot Dude cries being with a white woman. There would definitely be weeping involved, but not from him. Thank you, Dubious Prime, for the random 50. It's much appreciated. Godspeed from the Razor Force. Razor, why does everyone complain about gas prices when Obama was in office? It was just as high. It stayed there for almost 7 years. Yeah, I remember that, dude. I remember $5+ gas prices. I remember under Bush when it got up into the sixes. Remember that shit?
6.
Yeah, up at $6 a gallon. Yo, dude, it was brutal.
Maybe.
It was so bad for a while. I just remember that we had to have store meetings at the comic store, which meant everybody from all the stores had to converge on the same location. And because the chain was spread all over Phoenix, and Phoenix is huge, they gave us payouts from the register for gas because it was so freaking expensive. All right. Tim Walls gives me Uncanny Valley vibes, especially his lips. What an insult to computer graphics. Not usually here for these. Anyways, take my money, Badlands man. Godspeed. Godspeed. Afternoon, Midnight Razor and Tehran Gel. How do we feel about the redistricting the Supreme Court passed along with the mail-in voting executive orders? Enough to make up for the No Save Act and gas? I think Save Act eventually gets through. I've always thought that, but we'll see. But I'm really happy about that. I think the Comey indictment also helps, personally. What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Ugly housing developments, too, all over the countryside. Speaking of housing developments, we covered this a couple of weeks ago. Epic City in Texas. Basically a Islamic ethno-state in the middle of Texas is now under investigation. Representative Keith Self urges federal probes into Muslim development after Watchdog report. There is an official investigative report. Go ahead and scroll down and read this sucker. This is essentially Golem City from Deus Ex Mankind Divided, but for Habibs.
Representative Keith Self called for additional federal probes after a watchdog group raised legal and constitutional concerns about a proposed Muslim-centered development in his district. The Oversight Project, a watchdog group, alleges in a new report Thursday that the East Plano Islamic Center...
Dude! Does any phrase bring your bladder to a boil quicker than East Plano, Texas Islamic Center? The fuck?
Is violating federal law in spearheading the development of Epic City, a planned 400-acre community outside Dallas, Texas. The development near Josephine, Texas, also referred to as The Meadow, would include housing, a mosque, schools, and commercial businesses. The Oversight's Project Bombshell report indicates that East Plano Islamic Center is violating federal tax law, civil rights law, securities law, and housing law, if true.
They're investigating civil rights violations on the basis of its housing discrimination. Possible housing discrimination? You're opening a housing development and then hanging a great big sign saying infidels need not apply.
Yeah, that's basically... I'd like to point out this is basically what's also happening in where was it?
Minnesota,
but also
Michigan.
More recently, that guy did a video on it. Over in I think it was New Jersey, a bunch of Orthodox Jews were moving in. They took over like the school boards, the oversight committee, and all that. And basically,
Dearborn.
Right. That's I'm talking about in New Jersey, but they're pushing out all the residents and allocating all the federal funds to like their schools and their community shit.
Yeah,
it's just like moving in and pushing other people out. And this one is just going to discriminate. Lakewood, thank you.
Lakewood.
Here they're just going to make their own community and not include anyone else.
Yeah, that's not housing discrimination. That's housing jihad, asshole. Keep going.
Oh, let me continue here. Violating the Oversights Project bombshell report indicates that East Plano Islamic Center. Oh, right,
yeah.
That's the specific law that they're violating. The Justice Department dropped an earlier fair housing investigation into the community, and Epic has repeatedly said it is in full compliance with the law. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development launched a separate probe into possible housing discrimination. Possible. In addition to the ongoing Housing and Urban Development investigation, I am calling on the Internal Revenue Service and Department of Justice to launch additional probes into Epic and its affiliates for violating federal law.
Where does all the funding for that come from again?
Exactly. Someone has a vested interest in setting this place up.
Yep. You know, we've seen the Saudis owning freaking water rights in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And now we got Islamic communes essentially cropping up in the middle of Texas. What in the high holy hell? What in the bluest of blue hells is going on in the American Southwest? Given what the Kowloon walled city was, Razorfist, thoughts on stories set there? How would you write a story set there? This is germane to the topic at hand. It'd probably look a little something like this.
Goes a little something like this.
Oh, yeah, goes a little something like this. Keep going.
The Oversight Project asserts its findings raise issues regarding Epic's tax-exempt status, since a nonprofit created a for-profit entity known as Community Capital Partners, CCP, really, which functions as the project's developer. This explicit...
I wouldn't, even though it's more likely to be, Dubai money or something. I wouldn't be surprised if a little Chinese cash was in there, because they have a lot of money in developments in the American Southwest, too.
This explicit financial arrangement where a nonprofit mosque has created a for-profit entity that exists solely to funnel all of its profits back to the nonprofit mosque raises...
Dude, say that out loud again and tell me that's not sketchier than Michael J. Fox in a life drawing class.
But people will give the churches shit for being tax exempt.
Crazy. Freaking crazy.
Raises serious constitutional tax and practical concerns, especially given that it is geared toward the development of a Sharia-compliant community. That's another problem with it. You're going to run a separate law system within the United States. That immediately is a no-no.
Janet Reno firebombed religious cults for less than that.
The Oversight Project's legal analysis of this arrangement, consisting of a straightforward application of the relevant bodies of law to our examination of public records returns, finds that Epic is likely in violation of blah, blah, blah. Community Capital Partners sold investment shares that were typically priced at $80,000 to individuals seeking to build homes in the community, according to the report. Wow, I wish I could get land that cheap. The Oversight Project posed as a potential investor interested in purchasing a share of property in Epic City. Marketing materials received through that outreach show Epic City and CCP sold nearly 500 lots in Epic City, generating approximately...
Who bought those? Who bought those? Dude, I want names to I want faces to names. Like, I want to know where this paper trail leads. Okay, Hobo, I got to get your reaction on this, dude. What the hell?
Dude, how much can I say without getting you demonetized?
I know. I was going to say, the chat is full of people saying shit like, I can't say what needs to be done.
Folks, okay, you can realize this now, or you can realize this in 30 years when we're way further down the rabbit hole. Islam has not been spread peacefully throughout history.
Never.
So, that's it. You're going to realize it sooner or later, so you might as well realize it now.
Yeah. Somebody was talking about one of my books earlier. In Death Mask, inspired by his events, shall we say. I had a backstory of this one city where it had originally been held by humans, and then slowly this people from out of the desert had just moved into the city and moved into it and moved into it and moved into it unchecked, and eventually they just threw out all the humans and took over the whole city. There was no analog there, by the way. It's fantasy, guys. Fantasy fiction.
Oh yeah, pure fantasy that never happens in history ever.
Pure fantasy. Don't worry about it. Death Mask available at all your major retailers, Walmart and Amazon. Godspeed. Anyways,
completely off topic. When you play us out, could you play Fortunate Son? Anyway, did you want me to keep reading this?
No, we're good on that one. Godspeed. Cash Metal. Do not redeem. Are there any other Rumble ramps, by the way? Were you done with those?
No, there are quite a few more, actually.
Okay, rock and roll then.
Lagarticus.
Godspeed to everybody on Rumble.
Lagarticus, I was busy today, and I'm not sure I want to know about the JP Morgan thing. Well, now you do. Yeah. Instead, I'll ask about that massive I keep hearing coming from Louisiana after SCOTUS yesterday. How does it affect midterms? Bigly.
Depends on when it goes into effect, but I would assume that in this case, it would probably go in effect pretty immediately. So
didn't they say in Louisiana that they were going to postpone elections just so they could redistrict the state?
Tells you how important it is to them, doesn't it?
Mercenary X.
Why do you think they fight tooth and claw anytime anyone suggests a curtailment or even a security measure on mail-in ballots? Why? Why? Because that's how they do the dirt. All right.
Mercenary X, if this doesn't convince you that this is part of God's plan in some way, I don't know what will. James Comey committed high treason and sedition. He should get the guillotine. Found guilty of such crimes by a lawful court. Okay.
Yeah. Ace says, we'll make our own city without blackjack and hookers. Wait. Godspeed. All right. I don't mean to stir up any shit, but would you be interested in having a conversation with Wes from Thinking Critical over Batman's no-kill rule? Big fan who loves a good debate. Yeah, I would. I didn't have a personal problem with him. I just thought his argument was bullshit. The Batman no-kill rule, I think, is a narrative crutch. How do you guys feel about that? I never really gauged
bullshit
on that. Because I prefer early Batman 1940s, and then some of the Frank Miller stuff later on. I don't like no-kill Batman, and I never did.
Neither have I.
He was willing to kill people if he had to in the beginning, and that's Batman.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It does seem like, right, it is a narrative crutch in order to keep like reusing the same comic book villains over and over for like decades, right? I mean, I kind of get what they're doing, right? Because like you can't kill off the Joker. We have to keep him around for like 50 years over and over. And
you just think of a way to bring him back. That's
he's gonna escape again. Oh, let's go put him in Arkham Asylum. I wonder if he's gonna escape again, right?
Yeah,
it's like so silly. But
here's the thing: you can kill him and bring him back anyway. How do I know this? Because Batman's a ripoff of the Shadow. And the Shadow kind of invented the modern concept of the supervillain in a lot of ways. And it came up with the concept of the supervillain because Walter Gibson would kill somebody off and then find a clever way to bring them back, right? Just because you kill them doesn't mean you can't bring them back or bring back the villain with a different identity or whatever. Walter Gibson always found a clever way, narratively, to bring back the Voodoo Master, to bring back the Prince of Evil. What this is DC Comics not wanting to be creative about how they bring him back. It's laziness. That's why I hate the no-kill rule. And I'm not saying Batman needs to be the Punisher. I'm not saying he needs to kill everybody he comes up against. I'm just saying the hard and fast rule of killing them makes me just as bad as them. It's dumb philosophically. It never made sense, and it's just lazy.
Yeah.
It's just lazy. There are simply times when it is okay to kill someone in self-defense. It also sends a bad message because it basically sends a message to the average person that if somebody's trying to kill you, you can't kill them back. Bullshit. Fuck you. Blow that out your ass.
And a whole generation, maybe a couple of generations, have been raised on that.
Absolutely. It's propaganda. It's horse shit.
I don't have to kill you.
I'm not saying he has to kill every single one. I'm not even saying he has to kill most of them, because probably most of the time he could just kick the bad guy's ass and throw him in jail or Arkham Asylum or whatever. It's fine. It's fine. But dude, you get to a certain level, a guy's killing. You've had mass murderers that Batman has fought, and he's still not willing to kill the guy. Batman's a mass murderer at that point. Total bullshit. Total bullshit. That's why I like The Shadow so much, is Walter Gibson always had to think of creative ways. How do I bring this guy back? In the first Voodoo Master story, he drowns the Voodoo Master. But at the 11th hour, they liked the Voodoo Master character so much, they left it a little ambiguous. Okay, maybe he could get away with it. Maybe he could somehow survive, wash up on the shore or something, somehow survive. They just have to think of a creative way to do it. That's all I'm asking for. Creativity, for crying out loud. No Kill Batman was because censorship. Hate it. 1911s.
You gotta love the Tim Burton movies where he's got where he's freaking using rockets and Gatling cannons on fools.
And not only that, but you play the Arkham games and it's like, I won't kill anyone. That makes me as bad as the Joker. And then he's running around in his freaking bat tank shooting non-lethal bullets at criminals. He has a electrified anti-riot shield around the Batmobile that when he hits people, they fly 20 yards in the air and crack their head on the non-lethal pavement. Fuck you.
Yeah, his car is electrified, so they're fine. They're unconscious when he hits them with his tank.
It's bouncy, padded pavement. It's okay. He's got adamantium bones. Don't think about it.
And don't forget that when he's doing a car chase, he shoots concussion missiles at them. Non-lethally crashing the car.
Oh, it's so great.
It's so bullshit.
Well, guys, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you either.
Yes. What's your thoughts on Doc Savage's Crime College? It's kind of an extension of the Shadow's idea, where the Shadow at a certain point recruited one of his agents, Rupert Sayer, who was like a psychologist. And the job of Rupert Sayer was to try and rehabilitate criminals. Kind of a cool character, doesn't pop up that much. I wish he had done more with him. But the idea is the Shadow doesn't want to kill everybody. If he can save a life, he wants to. So he starts trying to rehabilitate criminals and whatever. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Doc Savage. Do either of you know what Doc Savage does to criminals?
Now, I believe it's been justified as brain acupuncture, and not a lobotomy, really.
He lobotomizes them. He cuts the crime out of their brain. I love Doc Savage so much. I love Doc Savage. Oh, freaking brilliant. We need a Doc Savage movie today. Actually, we don't need it today because it would suck. It would
Mercenary X. Did you also see the King Charles speech in Congress and how they all stood up and cheered for him?
Yeah.
No
Dude,
kings.
King Charles got a pretty wicked burn in there. He was actually halfway witty and interesting. It was kind of cool. All right, let's see here. He was at one point he said 250 years ago, or as we say in Britain, just the other day.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was great. His speech was pretty good. All right. Terrain theory versus germ theory is a big deal. Okay, Godspeed.
Ultros. Oh, sorry, go on.
Clever writing and modern comic book writers. Name a less iconic couple.
Ultros. Andrew Wilson has been debating bad actors from the right, and it's clear now that these people have a goal to split the ticket and put the left in power.
Yeah. It's not the first time we've seen it. This is why I'm becoming so impatient with it. We've seen it in every election cycle since Trump was a politician. Every midterm, we have seen this op repeated. It's just become more intense. And what's more, if your pattern recognition is so bad, you not only can't recognize the pattern, but you can't recognize that it's the same people pushing the same pattern. Nick Spencer, or Richard Spencer, Nick Fuentes, but I repeat myself. These kind of people, dude, it's many of the same cast of characters. How are you people not putting 2 and 2 together?
S. Fisher. Oh, sorry. Go ahead and read Jake's Dino God first.
Jake's Dino God. This rule makes Batman less virtuous, a whiner, get over your parents, Bruce, and less scary to crooks who know he won't 86. It's just a forced bad idea. I agree.
Yeah.
When the Shadow tortures someone, they know they're likely to die at the end. You know what I mean? I just read a Shadow story where he basically didn't intervene and let a bad guy ingest poison and died because the guy had poisoned someone else before. He's like, the guy's lying to him and claiming that he didn't poison someone. He's like, then drink that water. And he's like, what? No, I'm not. This is just water. It's just water. Then drink it. And he's like, drink it or I'll shoot you. He literally forces him to drink it. Fucking Shadow's so
Based.
Awesome.
So good. God, even the worst Shadow story has better writing than modern Batman comics.
It's like the best parts of Batman and the best parts of the Punisher all rolled into one. It's so cool.
Go ahead.
What about no kill Superman? Like Superman versus the Elite. What's so funny about Truth, Justice, the American Way? Here's why I'm okay with no kill Superman. Because he's so powerful, he's almost got to rein himself in. It makes a little more sense then. He could just punch you through the planet if he wanted to.
Yeah.
So it's like he's got to kind of rein himself in a little bit. Also, it is less of an issue in Superman because he's so often fighting like demigods and space aliens and robots and stuff, hyper powered enemies. So he, the no kill rule is not as big a deal.
Yeah, he could easily just punch you and turn you into red mist.
Right.
So, I mean, it does make much more sense there for him to be merciful.
No shit.
S. Fisher, you guys see Cucker bragging about how big his international audience is?
Yeah, turns out, and funny, most of the bot farms are international. That's kind of weird, isn't that? A little strange.
Mercenary X, if you can keep praying for my tinfoil hat wearing ass, I'm not even 50 and I'm already getting cataracts.
Oh no.
The devil's trickery knows no bounds.
Well, there are solutions for it. My father had cataract surgery. He's a lifelong diabetic. He was a type 1 diabetic. So as a child, juvenile diabetes. And so when you have diabetes that long, it's very common for you to develop cataracts later in life. He had a surgery. Dude, the way he described this to me, it was outpatient eye surgery. He goes there while they have to keep him awake. While he's awake, they take his eyeball out of his head and cut his eyeball open and remove the cataracts. Like, dude, I can't even imagine.
It's so crazy. That
Body
they can
horror.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah, body horror. I was like, I cringed out of my skin.
Oh gosh. Ugh. I didn't know you
Yeah,
could
like,
remove eyeballs and reconnect them.
I've never seen my dad's dick, but I'm sure he needs a wheelbarrow to cart that thing around.
It's the same thing with LASIK. It's like, all right, it's not like the early 2000s. We know it's gotten better. It's probably safe, but God, I could never.
Yeah.
Mercenary X, during the Mouse PI stream, everyone was giving their favorite Bible quotes, and they got them through dark times. Mine is the whole armor of God. It's the only thing that got me through the hospital. S. Fisher, ICE, arrest the Jew pedo, Juicebergs. This is a show them we go after Israelis too slop.
Yep.
Okay. Mercenary X, $6 for Costco gas, cheapest for $5.79, and this is California. I'm already seeing $10 gas in more of the premium locations, especially LA. Almost $50 for 8 gallons for my Prius. Dee, hail Chief Flipping Bird and civic edumacated hobo and socialist study gal. The Trump admin possible plans to withdraw troops from Germany. Possibly those troops will steamroll commie Canada. What?
In the Fallout timeline, maybe. I don't know. Let's
go ahead and read some super chats.
Yeah, sure. Let's see here. To be frank, in the Arkham Knight case, he's explicitly more violent thanks to his subconscious Joker nonsense, and asked Lucius Fox, what is it, his stripper name? To add that stuff to the Batmobile because of that. It's mentioned in a note. Okay. It's part of the world building, bro. Batman is a fiery but mostly peaceful vigilante. Yes, indeed. Top 5 Candlemass songs. That's a good question. Cry from the Crypt, Tales of Creation. Oh gosh, Under the Oak, The Well of Souls. Oh gosh, I really like Black Dwarf. It's like I just assume that song is about Gary Coleman. All right. Those would be my choices. What? Are you worried VRA deal will cause lots of red states in blue? What?
Now I had a stroke reading that.
I am so confused.
Now you know what I have to go through
Yeah,
every Friday.
I think he did have a stroke. Thanks for checking in, Sinbad. Okay, your dad was a cataphract? Yes, he was a battle mech from Battletech. Yes. Godspeed. I'm not reading that out. Islam invading Texas like it's World War XI again. Dude, Hobo, did you see that from Ilhan Omar?
Yeah. Dude, how
11 world wars.
That was a Biden moment. That was a repeat the line moment, is what that was.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but World War IX was my favorite.
Understand, guys, the entire squad were created. They were created by the Justice Democrats. They held a casting call. They held that casting call, and those people came in, and they were basically actresses. They knew nothing about politics, and they had to be an ethnic minority. They had to be reasonably attractive or whatever, and they filed in, and they were endorsed by the Justice Democrats, and then the Justice Democrats wrote all their speeches, planned all their interviews, tightly controlled them. And every time AOC speaks, understand, if you get angry at AOC, you're not really mad at AOC. You're mad at her handler, because nothing she's ever said has been hers. Same thing goes for Ilhan Omar. And you just saw an illustrative example of it this week. That script was not hers. It was not hers. She's a total product. All right. Isn't it Batman keeping himself in check too? Like, he is so filled with vengeance that he's afraid if he kills once, he won't stop. That's the modern revisionist cope, right? That's the best way they've been able to explain it. And it kind of works, but really doesn't, honestly. It really doesn't. Are you playing Far, Far West for tomorrow's arcade? Oh, man, we've got so many cool games lined up for...
We've got a lot of good options.
We really do. All right. This epic invasion happened under Abbott's watch, by the way. Get your shit together, Texans, and stop virtue signaling how based or Christian you are. Sadly, they got a rhino problem over there, too. It's very familiar to us out in Arizona, because this is what it looks a lot like what happened before Democrats started winning small elections in our state and flipping us blue. It looks a lot like that. Cape Shit Bell Curve be like, I like Superman because he's kind and punches hard. I like Batman because he's edgy and has a no-kill rule. I like Superman because he's kind and punches hard, right? Exactly. All right. Hey, I know you don't like it, but thoughts on Invincible? One of my favorite Michael Jackson albums. Godspeed.
Yeah.
It's a really good record. Go see that movie, guys. It's freaking
So
killer.
good.
So good. There are only 2 Baldur's Gates to me. 3 was a Pride Flag shit show.
Oh, and if you want to bring up my screen real quick.
Oh,
you asked me to
sure.
earlier.
Publishers are the root problem in the games industry. Every single time a studio goes belly up or starts implementing terrible mechanics, it's always the publisher. And the publisher being given over to ESG. Michael 2 is moving forward with meetings for the film taking place shortly. Filming will begin this year or 2027, depending on Antoine Fuqua's schedule.
Yep.
Yes.
Looking forward to it.
Hold on. What is this horse shit? The South African monarch. Oh, I already know what he's talking about. He's claiming, because I had a tweet late last year when we first started saber rattling about Iran, I said, I want regime change in Iran, but it can't be us that does it. Yeah, I did a whole video about that around the same time, you half-smart fuckhead. I did an entire video where I specified exactly what I was talking about there. And for what it's worth, you guys remember, I've talked about it on our many podcasts about Iran, how the only way that I would support regime change in Iran is if we actually committed to being the conquerors. I said that in 2025 because we were not committed to being the conquerors. And honestly, I don't even see that commitment right now, but at least it was such a shock and awe situation that it didn't really matter, right? My point is, don't put boots on the ground and shit if you're not going to commit to actually being the conqueror. Because if we try to commit a, politically correct occupation, that was the problem in Iraq. The Iraq war was over in like 5 hours. You guys remember that shit? We completely steamrolled them. It was the occupation that was the problem. And why was it the problem? Because we didn't accept our role as conquerors. So yeah, it's a misportrayal of what I said, and it's basically taking 2 tweets out of context, removing them from all of the explicatory comments that I made in my fucking videos, which is what that fucking clown does all the goddamn time. Tomorrow, you still wake up talentless, asshole. I'm sorry. Piss, whine, all you fucking like. I support the reinstallation of the rightful monarch of Iran because I never opposed monarchy in all situations. You're fucking butt mad. You're covering for your Persian cat, little shithead over there in fucking Britain, the asshole who dresses like a Night at the Roxbury extra and decided to shit on me for absolutely no reason whatsoever. This is the friend-enemy distinction in practice. Your fucking asshat friends have the exact same number of contradictions, right? But you don't go after them because friend-enemy distinction, period. Fucking retardation. God, I hate this e-drama bullshit. It's so fucking stupid. It's absolutely moronic. But yeah, I've explained many, many times my position on Iran. It's hilarious, too, because in order to find those tweets, you have to go past how many tweets going back to 2011, 2012, 2013, where I'm talking about we got to get rid of the Islamic regime in Iran. We got to go into Iran supporting some kind of action in Iran because I know people in Iran. This is not an inconsistency. It's you removing a qualification, cuckold. Fuck you. Hail Razor, my father's heart surgery went very well. They had to up it to a quadruple bypass. I'm sorry to hear that. Thank you for all your prayers last week, and Godspeed. All right, cool.
Hey, Razor.
What's up?
You know what will cheer you up?
There's nothing to cheer up. There we are. There we go.
Dang, that's good.
It's getting worse.
Yep. The Ayn Rand Institute, speaking of fucking retards, is accusing Trump of capitulating and being humiliated by Iran with the ceasefire. Does the U.S. benefit from negotiations with Iran? No, not really. And I oppose negotiations with this regime. It's not a legitimate regime. I would support negotiations on drawdowns of hostilities if the regime was upended. Absolutely. Did I see the new Resident Evil trailers? The game or the movie?
So it's not the worst case scenario, but it is the laziest case scenario.
Yeah.
It's a zombie movie that they were gonna make anyway, and just decided to put Resident Evil on it.
Yeah.
It takes place during the events of Resident Evil 2, except it's snowing.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening in like September or early August. Like, no, what the fuck? So basically, it's not a Resident Evil movie. Again.
All right. Do we just boil down to 86 versus J6 now, or what? Right. World War III, the Revengeing. World War IV, Commies Attack. World War V, America Strikes Back. World War VI, Return of the Revenging that Strikes Back. These are like Kojima game titles. As a Texan, we won't be read much longer. Too many legal foreigners and too many people moving from other states. The World War series lost steam after World War X. Yeah. It's kind of like Land Before Time sequels.
Somebody said it in chat now. I can't unsee it.
What's up?
He kind of looks like the I Like Turtles kid.
Yeah, a little bit. I have no idea. Shiloh Sanders may never reach his dad's or brother's NFL success, but telling Browns beat reporter to make me a sandwich on X is Hall of Fame worthy. Surprisingly, as a New Yorker, $4 here, $6 for diesel. Interesting. Let's see here. By the way, not a good week for Indians on X. Train still at the top of the body count leaderboard, now followed by shallow bodies of water, electric lines, and now an Albanian woman enters the competition. There you are. They'll never get rid of fraud. Every fraud dollar is a mortgage payment, a car payment, a political kickback. The economy would implode without it. When they start building airfields, then I worry, right? Ever play Alpha Protocol?
No, never heard of it.
Yeah, we streamed it. We did not review it, though. We did not. I loved that game. I don't know about you.
No, it's great. Yeah,
it was a good game. Could you bring back up that Michael Jackson story?
Oh, sure.
Because I'm in the process of making a Michael Jackson rebuttal part 4. And it's done so well. The entire media just shat on it. Variety shat on it. I saw every major tabloid, of course, shat on it. The mainstream media, everybody dumped on this movie, called it shallow. I saw one review, was it Variety, that said it makes Bohemian Rhapsody look like a deep character study. And then it made more money than God. It was like a $200+ million weekend. It's now the most profitable opening weekend for a biopic ever. It's on track. It's absolutely just going to steamroll and continue making money. It's obvious this thing's just going to get... And I keep hearing from people who have gone 3 and 4 times. Like, it's just stupid. Me and Taryn went. What did you think of it, Taryn?
I loved it. I thought it was an incredibly deep film into his life. Like, you could tell in certain parts that it was the family speaking through Michael. If you can try to understand what I mean by that.
What was your pluses and minuses for it? Did you have any gripes? What did you like most about it?
They kind of harped on the whole Joe was a bad father a little too much.
I thought he was a little snidely Whiplash. I expected him to twirl his mustache.
Making him the central villain. I mean, look, I get it, but it kind of detracted from the rest of the film. I felt just a little bit.
I think it would have been good to have a moment or two where he was a little more fatherly. There were moments that Michael talked about, him being in the recording studio and his dad just shows up with donuts. Hi, son. How you doing? Those kind of things happen.
Yeah, I think he tried at the end.
He was his dad, right? So
Yeah.
I actually think it would have added to his villainy, to tell you the truth, to have a scene or two where he was just dad. He was not a total villain, and he did something nice for Michael. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe towards the in the next film, maybe they do sort of like, I want to
Hopefully-
say, a sort of redemption arc like that.
Yeah, hopefully something like that. I don't know. At least give a little nuance. Because I remember when I reviewed, go watch it if you haven't, by the way. I interviewed, rather, Taj and Brandy Jackson, the nephew and niece of Michael Jackson, live on YouTube. Interviewed them about the Leaving Neverland film and the false allegations and Taj's documentary that he was working on at the time. And shortly before I conducted that interview, Joe Jackson had passed away. And I remember we had a brief little back and forth talking about how, you know, your uncle has been defamed pretty heavily in the press and they distorted his public image. And they both agreed the same had happened to their grandpa, that Joe Jackson was really villainized. You know, like he was not perfect and he was a real hard ass and he did some sketchy things, no question. Like he cheated on Catherine apparently and, you know, stuff like that. He definitely hit Michael, but yeah, full on shredder villain, I think. Plus there were so many missing characters. Diana Ross was missing. Apparently she didn't sign off on her likeness being used. That's why she was missing, which really is a notable omission because Michael Jackson was enamored with her.
Yeah.
They went to Studio 54 together. He wanted to marry her. He showered her with gifts, tried to get with her, and she was just not about it. She was so much older than him. She saw him as a kid. It just never happened, right? So that's kind of that's like his first love, really, and you get nothing about it. You get nothing with him and Brooke Shields. I assume she refused to sign on to be in any of that stuff, but yeah, there's some missing stuff. Jermaine Jackson I noticed was missing, which I thought was stupid. And The Wiz, thank you for somebody for mentioning that. The Wiz missing sucks because then you don't get an explanation of how he hooked up with Quincy Jones. It's just we cut to a scene and him and Quincy Jones are sitting there together. Quincy only worked with Michael Jackson because they first worked together on The Wiz and they wrote the Scarecrow song kind of together a little bit. That was their first real collaboration.
And I want to point out while we're talking about Michael, Jafar Jackson did an incredible job.
His first acting gig, bro. His first ever acting gig. Unbelievable. The welfare cast is the root of all evil. Godspeed. Now that the Minnesota autism fraud has been wrangled, that money can now be more properly allocated to fund the actual autists at Doge for a month or two, right? Have I ever thought about trying to get Michael Moorcock for an interview? He's done a number of YouTube interviews in the last few years. I'd love to, but he probably doesn't agree with my politics. And I don't agree with his. Although he's not as cringe as some libs. He's more of he's like one of those old school hippie libs, like 1960s libs. You know, the kind that they're lib, but they're not. Every now and then they'll say something that you're just like, whoa, that was kind of conservative. That came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? I've known a number of those kind of people throughout my life. Who do they think we are? Native Americans? All right. Well, go ahead, Texans. Show us how based you are. Go Crusade Epic. Just like you keep saying you'll secede from the USA, most cucked state in the U.S. My goodness. Tell us how you really feel. You think an RE Outbreak remake would work?
Dude, that's the perfect setting. You have a whole cast of characters you could work with there. They won't fucking do it, though.
Yeah.
It would be redundant. Ugh.
The left is so completely incoherent. We hate Russia because tyrant. We support Iran, who are tyrant, who's best friends with Russia. It's just following marching orders, right? Godspeed. The whole people fleeing blue states are cuck-publicans. They make Texas even redder is a myth. It's gotten worse. It's just not Republicans moving. Well, there is some data that suggests that there are a lot of Republicans moving. There are, but I do think eventually you run out of Republicans. And I think we're well on the back end of that initial wave. And I think it's probably a lot more lefties than it is Republicans now. I really do. I see
Absolutely.
way too many California license plates sitting at a stoplight out here in Phoenix for that to be the case. Sorry, hey, Hobo, you were saying something?
Oh yeah, just to like interject a little. Most people move because of economic reasons, not because of politics, unfortunately, right? Because you'd think all the conservatives are moving to Texas and Arizona, but it's not really the case. I mean, they're just moving wherever it is cheap.
Yep,
You know,
and
that's
wherever they can get a job.
They don't care about like the culture of where they're moving either. They just want to they're just moving there because it's cheap. They're coming to use your state. That's what they're coming for.
Absolutely. It's funny. I got panhandled by a chick from California while I was filling up my car. I just said I filled up my car yesterday. Random chick with a bulldog, maybe homeless, I couldn't tell, with a great big California sweater on. And she was nice enough. We had conversation and whatever. And she's like, so are you from here? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, so you're from California, aren't you? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, I won't hold that against you. I gave the poor girl $1. All right. Trump's got more attacks on him than most rappers. Yeah. He is spiritually a rapper, isn't he?
Yeah.
No, he's not gay enough, actually.
He's the first black president, right?
How does a Nazi camp guard break the ice with a shrewish woman inmate? Hey, good looking. Who's cooking? I'm sorry, that wasn't right of me. Just did my last exam yesterday. I am now officially, if everything goes well, done with my engineering degree. Have a buck on me. Godspeed. You're going to be making a few bucks.
That's a tough degree. My dad was an engineer.
Yeah. As an African American, I don't support African monarchists since it was African monarchies that sold my ancestors into slavery in the first place. Again, our issue is that people are using as a means to advocate monarchy the flaws in our current system. And the problem with that argumentation and that framework is that the things you're complaining about in democracy that are flaws, they are flaws in democracy, but they are in fact features of monarchies. There's literally no monarchies that do not contain these flaws, and in abundance, in more severe concentration, and in larger numbers. Tim Walls looks like Meister Burger from that Rankin Bass Christmas special. Okay. Yeah, we heard that too about the 007. It's his first, which I'm getting really tired of going back in time with James Bond. I don't know about you.
Yeah. How many firsts can you have?
Razor Force, your mission is to link the Michael Jackson rebuttal, I assume you're talking about, on every comment section you can, if you shall accept it. Godspeed. Move to New Mexico. Arizona's full. But the problem is New Mexico's expensive because they're blue.
Yep.
You'd think the left would defend MJ as an innocent black man getting lynched in the U.S., or does he no longer count as a black man? Oh, that's just it. All right. Gosh, there's so many of these. My goodness, Razor Force. As a former pagan who has returned to Christianity, really looking forward to some more Johann Gerhard. I'd love to see a little of a reflection from yourself after the readings, brother. Yeah, maybe I'll add a little bit of my commentary in it. Just a little bit. The reason I was reading those is I am well aware of my own flaws. On the Somali fraud story, I wonder if this somehow ties in with them building housing development after housing development like it's going out of style, yet our birth rate is the lowest it's ever been and dropping. Right? Walls of the Somalis are modern-day Tammany Hall and the Irish. Dems always lie, cheat, and steal. It's pure treason, plain and simple. The Tammany Hall comparisons have been made many, many times by me and many others. So an FBI director walks into a bar. Indictment is probably because people tried it 16 times. All right. I don't know who that is. When Rand Paul went on Joe Rogan, he said, debate the issues. That's the issue. The GOP wants the whole debate with people who don't want to debate. I told you guys after 2020, I'm like, the message is loud and clear. Like, when debates stop, violence starts. And the message of 2020 from the left was discussion over. we're gonna engage in open bloodletting, because if we can't win elections, we're just gonna cheat. And at that point, like, what wouldn't they do to gain power? If it hasn't been said, will no one rid me of this turbulent priest? Some English king, probably. Godspeed. 80 miles outside town and 6 feet down. Godspeed. Journo, Google's 86. I'm journalisming.
Yeah. That's pretty much how it works.
That was literally how it went, bro. Razor Terran and Hobo, I grew up in New Mexico. Why is Arizona more right-leaning? I feel since about 2010, Republicans gerrymandered everything they had control over, plus Republican voter suppression laws. Godspeed. Sure. Voter suppression laws out here. I wish. Never understood the hate for absolution. Watch my review. I am biased since that's the game that introduced me to Hitman. Razor rant incoming. I did a rant about Hitman Absolution before it came out. Then I did a review. Then I shat on it in my Hitman retrospective. So no shortage of material on that one. Thoughts on Solitude from Candlemass. I love it. I love everything Candlemass. Godspeed. A $5 for the Razor Force. I got baptized 5 days ago. Praise be to God. Praise be to God. That's wonderful to hear. You want a Bond game? Just do open world Hitman. Kind of did that. I mean, Hitman is open world Hitman. It's just a different size of sandbox. Do these comic book creatives not understand there are legal and ethical differences between murder and justified homicide? To know that subtlety, they'd have to know the Bible. Right? It's not thou shalt not kill. It's thou shalt not murder. Killing is okay in certain circumstances. In fact, I was just reading that part of the Book of Concord. There was a Martin Luther quote in there where he was talking about it. Michael not having a reference to The Wiz is par for the course for these films, like the Ray or Aretha Franklin's movies not referencing the Blues Brothers. Man, The Wiz is such a huge omission, though. It's his first acting gig. He stole the show in it. It's the reason he got a solo deal. It's the reason he met Quincy Jones. It's the reason he met Diana Ross, who he fell in love with. Dude, it was... Oh, man, that should have been in there. That really should have been in there.
At least a mention.
Yeah. Bond wasn't MI6 until age 37, already a naval officer. Thank you.
That's why they called him Commander Bond.
Dude, Casino Royale, the book, he's middle-aged by then. It's the first book, and it's his first real mission. Or at least it's emphasized that it's his first real opportunity to make a name for himself. And he's already middle-aged by then. Fun fact, condom companies have received lots of complaints from India recently. Apparently, they tend to fall off. What does that tell you? Odd, they get the same complaints in China. Hi, I collect older dictionaries. 86 has 2 definitions. The first one is the bar diner one. The second one is as follows: to cut off, eject, eliminate, kill. Got him. Oh, and one more thing. Woke, past tense. See, wake. Godspeed, bro. So they did edit it. They did, and that doesn't surprise me. They've done that before, dude. Merriam-Webster. Thoughts on the Rogue Galaxy games. Also thoughts on Cyber Commander arcade game. Never played it. Practically virtual on Cyber Troopers with 10. You guys play either of those games? I haven't.
Cyber Commander.
I played Rebel Galaxy. I thought that was rad.
So no, that doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah, I don't think I've played either.
Listen to me be Godspeed. My ideal Bond game is a blend of the Saboteur and Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, with the social aspects being something more unique to itself. Okay, this and the SPLC money. How do I get them? All right. They should have made Bond look more like a young Christopher Lee, the man Bond was based off of. It's true. He was Ian Fleming's cousin, and he did wet work in World War II. Christopher Lee did. Did you hear the one about the Indian Godfather? He made him an offer he couldn't redeem. It's not bad. It's all right. Light chuckle. All right. Is it really a conversion if it's a tip of a sword? Islam seems to think so. What did MJ say when he heard a funny joke? All right. Got speed. Razor, I know you've mentioned that communism must be opposed as it prescribes its imposition on the world. Can the same be said of Islam? Yeah, it's kind of like this is one of the reasons I think communism and Islam have gone hand in hand so often. A lot of these so-called Islamic theocracies in the Middle East are in fact quasi-communist states. A lot of them were installed by the Soviet Union or funded by it. Iran's one of them. There's a reason for that. They jive in the sense that they prescribe their imposition on the world and have this pretense of largesse at the same time and charity that comes at knife point. It's also fair to point out there's a growing sentiment among older Gen Z, myself included, that most people born after the 1997-2002 gap don't have the same outlook on anything. Our childhood was a different world. Exactly. It's kind of like I'm a millennial, but I'm of the generation where like you would call them centennials or something, where I got to live in a world pre-internet. And dude, that's night and day from other millennials who kind of grew up pretty much in an internet only world. That's a pretty big deal. Having home computers and the internet changes your outlook pretty substantially.
We're the last generation that had an analog childhood.
Yeah, it's hard to describe sitting around on a Saturday not having anything to do really except chores or hanging out at friends' house, no internet, no social media. A time before smartphones, a time before really ubiquitous cell phones. That's pretty different culturally from the late period millennials who grew up with all that shit. So I agree with Jack Posobiec on that. There really should be a distinctive there. Centennials and millennials should probably be two different generations. Did you hear we're now past World War XI? Boy, did I. Boy, how did I miss World War XI? How did we miss World Wars 3 through 10? Either Ilhan Omar is an avid Tim Pool viewer, or we're really stretching what we call a world war nowadays. I got that sense watching Tucker Carlson. Heard a conspiracy that gas corporations would artificially inflate gas prices regardless of flow just because they think the public would fall for it. I think every generation has had that conspiracy, though. Last time the U.S. had a year in war that resulted in 20K deaths was World War XI. Vietnam took 4 years to hit 20K U.S. deaths, 2 to 3 years for Korea. Tucker is dumb. Yeah. He's fucking retarded. Another weird thing, all nuclear physicists and scientists talking about cheap and clean energy are getting disappeared or dropping like... I've heard that story. Fuel's up another 30 cents here in Kansas, I assume. $4 up from $2.30. I'm starting to see grumbling from normies. Hope it wraps soon.
$4 is a lot in Kansas. They're usually real cheap.
Yeah. All right. Straczynski and Babylon 5 fanboys are so salty about DS9. Ooh, a space station. What a novel idea. We got two banger shows that, while similar, are different. Hobo, did you see J. Michael Straczynski, the creator of Babylon 5, got mad at my DS9 Babylon 5 video?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did see that.
We replied to it a couple of weeks ago. Fucking stupid.
Oh, man.
His counter arguments were so bad. I don't intend this as blackpilling and know we still have all to fight for, but I'm concerned that Trump and by extension MAGA is losing, particularly on the optics war. Sorry, things are not quite going so well where I'm at. I mean, I cannot deny that people would rather us not be in Iran. I support it because I supported some kind of action in Iran. Again, if we commit to it and if we're not afraid of being perceived as conquerors. And I'll tell you why. I've told this anecdote before, but many a time I would talk to Iranian friends of mine. And if the subject of Iran's government being toppled by the U.S., Like, we always agreed the U.S. was pretty much to blame for the Ayatollah taking over in Iran. Granted, there's more than enough blame to go around. Turkey had a part in that. France had they literally flew the Ayatollah back to Iran to help the revolution kickstart. I mean, it was the Soviet Union funded a lot of it, but the U.S. backing away from it. Jimmy Carter running away with his tail between his legs. Reagan doing nothing. Let's be real. Reagan ran like a bitch too. He really did. He could have solved the problem. But while we did agree on that point, it was always kind of ambiguous when we got to the subject of whether or not the U.S. intervenes in Iran. And the main reason was, and she impressed this on me, my girlfriend at the time, we can't trust that you'll follow through with it, right? So when I said, I would like for us to topple the regime, but it's like we can't be the ones to do it, this is what I mean. It's like we don't have the trust to do it. But we do see now, when the action popped off, Iranian support for it was pretty damn high. And it still is. We interviewed an Iranian on this show who supports it, who's someone who lived in Iran, 2 years ago? Not even quite that. So it's not something. And I know the people in Iran that I knew, if we committed to it, would have supported that because we talked about it. So that's kind of what I was talking about, which is why South African monarchucks misportraying my argument by omitting all of the qualifying arguments that I made to that is disingenuous in the extreme. But in order to be a monarchuck, you have to be a disingenuous asshat. C'est la fucking V. I have to point it out, rip to Bob Kevoyan of Bob and Tom. Love their radio show. I don't know what radio show that is, but Godspeed. Tom is in Tom Likas. Dill Prickle, I got to say, guys, I used to work in a restaurant where we would 86 products that we got rid of. I've literally never heard this in my life. That being said, we would also make mob references because we all knew where the term came from. Well, there you go. I mean, how many mob operations operated out of a restaurant as a front, right? It's in all those mob movies for a reason. At least Tillis is on the way out. Now he can enjoy his insider trading loot. By the way, insider trading for members of Congress or betting on war contractors was banned just yesterday, formally. It is now formally illegal. I don't know why it wasn't before. As a Californian, I don't think us should trust us anymore, right? In all fairness, I work in a restaurant. This is like the same as the one we just read. I work in a restaurant kitchen, and if a menu item's 86, it means there's none of that item left. That being said, we all know gangsters never use euphemisms, right? I think those two might be connected, actually. We've reached 1984. The party want normies to ignore all of human history. Criminals use codes to avoid detection. Duh. Normies can't be that dumb. There's no way the head of the FBI, who to my knowledge has never worked in a restaurant, did not know the import of that expression, given that the FBI has been joined at the hip to the mob since its inception. I stand by that point. Movies where 86 means to kill. The Candidate, Goodfellas, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, L.A. Confidential. That's right, L.A. Confidential. I remember that. Casino, etc. Maybe Boardwalk Empire, too.
I guess none of those movies were on that top 10 list.
Did you release a review of the movie, Michael? No, I gave kind of a pluses and minuses, pros and cons, and mentioned some of the things I mentioned just now. The highlights for me were the cinematography was gorgeous. Jafar was incredible. His first acting gig, and he crushed it. There were times I just thought I was watching Michael Jackson. There were times, right? From a distance, whatever, he looked so much like him. And he did a great job, an absolutely great job. He was dead on with the dance moves and everything, and those are not easy dance moves to nail. Dude, it was incredible. Script was nice and tight. It was 2 hours long. It felt like it was an hour and 15, maybe. It just hauled ass. The movie was great. It was well written. Cons, Joe being a supervillain instead of just a complicated dad figure. I think we could have used a little nuance on that one. We needed Jermaine Jackson in that movie. We really did, because the rivalry between him and Michael was too important. Because without that rivalry, that scene where Michael Jackson tenders his resignation on stage, which is a real event that really happened, you miss out on Jermaine being pissed too, because him and Michael were already having problems. And the rivalry between Michael goes all throughout the 80s into the 90s, and Jermaine winds up releasing a diss track that charted against Michael Jackson, against his own brother, because he was so pissed about him leaving the group and, lots of things. So anyways, Jermaine is in the news, by the way, again, over some sexual harassment allegations or something. Daily Gondor, Mordor caught funding the wildling raids on Rohan. Sauron denies any allegations. Well, I believe him. Why do you lay these troubles on an already troubled mind? Zoomers were born between 1997 and 2012. Yeah, so they basically were not cognizant in a pre-9/11 world. First time I heard 86 was in Species 2, when the general wanted to know how to kill the creature. Maybe it's not just a mob term. Well, it's a mob term that became broad slang. Thoughts on the UAE leaving OPEC? OPEC is toast, dude. These Trump being elected was a reaction to and a bit of a wish list enactment of the understanding that these corrupt institutions have to die. And we've known that, dude. We've been hearing people bitch about OPEC. When I first became politically aware in like the late 90s, maybe started paying attention to politics, they were bitching about OPEC then. It was a talking point nightly on Nightline, Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher, all those shows. Like you guys remember, we were always bitching about OPEC. It's long overdue. Yeah. Just like us leaving the WHO and shit. So overdue. Take a quick look at the 2024 election map in Minnesota if you want a good idea of what Minnesota politics looks like. Twin Cities strangle this state. And again, State Electoral College. No one is saying the Twin Cities shouldn't have an outsized influence on Minnesota politics. No one's saying that. They should get more electoral votes than other counties. But if other counties that have a medium-sized population band together, and enough of them get together, if you had 15, 20 different counties that all band together and say, hey, that crazy batshit thing that the Twin Cities want us to pay for, if they get together and countervail against that, that's exactly what the Founding Fathers intended with the Electoral College. They did not want for politicians to just be able to campaign in one part of a state. And it's ridiculous. It's now a bigger problem on the state level than it was nationally when they passed it. My civics class was taught by a straight communist. Dude, same here. My first civics class was in college, and the dude had like a handlebar mustache and a mullet. And I was like, whoa, this is going to be based. No, he's total red. It's a freaking commie. New from Daily Gondor, Mayor Samwise of Michael Delving eliminates Shire voting district regulations in major attack to ruffian representation since Sharky mayorship by Gorham Goldgrabber. Thank you. A deep cut on the scouring of the Shire there. I love it. All right. Jefferson didn't cut up the Bible. He had a notebook of his favorite passages. Him and Franklin were Christians, deist only as far as anti-clergy. I know one thing, they were anti-Catholic, which is a problem for some of the America First, but also let's suck the Pope's dick people. Minnesota is the new California. It's the old California. It's been this way for some time. I don't know if it's already been covered because I joined late, but did you all see Trump troll King Charles by having a line of soldiers dressed up at the 1812 military? No, I didn't.
Yep.
I actually thought his speech was pretty good. Trump's and King Charles. They were both good. Dude, did you see Trump praise the Anglo-Saxon blood coursing through the American founders' veins?
Yeah,
Holy shit. VA vote was ruled illegal because it violated 4 procedural rules plus biased ballots. Now SCOTUS ruling against districting based on race. Chef's kiss. Godspeed. How doable would it be to charge all the people threatening the president so they lose their vote? Whoops. But they are all Dems. Would it be any different to repealing the 14th? Right, in practice, it practically would be. Could Comey being lured into a perjury charge? Thank you. That was another thing I thought of, and I didn't mention it. Just like he did to General Flynn. If so, it would be a hilarious example of karma. Dude, I guarantee you, he will at some point in these proceedings perjure himself. Mark it down. We'll be going to Alaska for work next week, and we'll be there for a while, just spreading the love. Godspeed and God bless. Godspeed, dude. Thank you for joining us. Technical Hobos spent a lot of time in Alaska on work.
Indeed.
Where were you at? What was the crazy, like, Santa's village that you were staying at?
Santa's village. So I worked in Nome and Barrow. Look both
Yeah,
those
it's
up
like the
on
little-
the map, folks, if you want.
I don't know anything about it, but the way you were describing it, it sounded like the shitty plastic village they put in the snow globe.
Oh, well, it's actually much less attractive looking than that. Pretty much barren tundra up there. No trees at all. They can't even survive in those places.
And like nighttime all the time or daytime all the time, right?
Yeah, kind of cool. You can walk around at like midnight or whatever, you know. It's perfectly light out. Pretty cool.
Yeah, insane. Now, could you see Russia from your house? Or was that just Tina Fey?
Yeah, right. Yes.
I'm tired of Canadians feeling like they can publicly talk shit about America as if anybody around them disagrees with them. They get mad easily if you say Canada's collapsing under Carney, though. Dude, they've been collapsing for a good long while. I don't trust my voting system, Australia, after Albo getting in. Looking into it, it's super sus. Well, he's pretty big in Australia, but then again, so are COVID camps. Black Sheep was an entertaining way to describe this fraud, which is yet another movie that Hollywood will never make again, given who the villain was. Yeah, no kidding. North Carolina resident here, never thought I'd feel lucky to have $4.19 a gallon. Jeez. Speaking of biopics, thoughts on the biopic parody Walk Hard? Never watched it.
Yeah.
Never watched it. Afghan veteran John Burke says, says America cannot beat Iran unless they commit boots on the ground. What do you think, Razor? It depends on how you define victory conditions. Actually, you know what? Victor Davis Hanson had a really good op-ed in the Epic Times. If you guys will give me a second to fetch it, I might read a part of it so you'll see. He's a military historian, which is why I credit his opinion on this a little bit more than most. But he actually wound up making a lot of the same points that I made earlier. You know, the ones that the Juicebergs in the chat claimed I was pulling out of my ass and completely ill-informed on. What would I, someone who was educated in political science and history, and Victor Davis Hanson, a scholar, a Rhodes Scholar on military history, know about Middle Eastern military campaigns? But hey, we'll leave it to the experts who got all their political education from a 4'0" gay Mexican, right? Fuck you. I'm going to grab that real quick, Taryn, if you want to read, like, I don't know.
Some Rumble rants.
Real quick.
Mercenary X, the tweeting question was posted 4 years ago or so. It has timestamp on it. Also, the studio that made Vampire made a huge stinker and is bad enough to close the studio. They got infiltrated. S. Fisher, that is a question. I'll wait for him to come back.
No. Go ahead. I'll answer it now.
Thoughts on Greg Bovino saying mass deportations aren't happening? I don't know who Greg Bovino is.
Well, mass deportations, by the definition that he probably means it, aren't happening. And I said from the very beginning, it's not really about the mass deportations. It's about directed deportations so that then mass self-deportations will occur. And we already had the data like the following April after Trump was reelected that showed that was happening. And I would be surprised if that wasn't sustained in some regard. In fact, there was some relatively recent data that showed that, in fact, it has continued. All right, so I'm going to read this, if you guys will bear with me. The prognosis of the Iran war is now so couched in politics and so warped by the American left that the public has grown tired and wants it all to go away. But in truth, the situation is so fluid that any accurate prediction is impossible. Yet there is good reason to believe in an eventual outcome quite favorable to the United States and one far better than the status quo antebellum. Prior to U.S. President Donald Trump's most recent announcement that the United States would first blockade and then reopen and control traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, only a few ships were going through, mostly those aligned with Iran, opposed to the United States, or neutral. Thus, the strait was disrupted to a far greater degree than during Iran's earlier efforts at closure during the tanker war phase of the Iran-Iraq war, as well as its chronic harassment of shipping in 2018 to 2019. And now, if Trump quickly clears and secures control of the strait, and if allowable traffic reaches, say, 60% to 70% of pre-war levels, and if the United States avoids a full-scale war, instead responding disproportionately to any renewed Iranian attempts to close it, what did I say? Drop the ether if they step out of line. This is basically what I was saying earlier. Then within 1 to 2 months, oil prices will begin to taper off. Also what I was saying. The American challenge with the war is not military, but political. We've all been saying this for a while. It's mostly an op in that sense. This time, the United States is not sending Marines to fight house to house in Fallujah or to scour villages on the ground in Helmand province, losing hundreds in casualties and fighting in circumstances favorable to jihadists and terrorists. That is one thing I've been impressed with is I think one of the reasons Iran hasn't surrendered is they're hoping for boots on the ground because they have a guerrilla war planned. And Trump's not taking the bait. Because they looked at Iraq and they're like, yeah, we can win the demoralization war if he sends boots on the ground and really gets bogged down in a quagmire. I wonder if that's not it. I've wondered that since the very beginning. Instead, the administration is restrained in its use of force only by concerns about the war's effects on the U.S. economy, global oil prices, domestic gas prices, the midterm elections, and the political fortunes of vulnerable Republican members of Congress. Militarily, the United States has choices. What did I say? Trump is actually in the catbird seat in a way. He has options, and Iran has none. The Navy can continue demining the strait, rotate patrols of U.S. and allied warships through it, allow allied and neutral shipping to pass while blocking Iranian-bound ships, and periodically strike Iran whenever it attempts to disrupt shipping, including clearing its coasts of missiles and drones. In other words, Trump can flip the Iranian strategy of selective entrance to the strait, with the key difference that he has the wherewithal to carry out such a calibrated blockade, and Iran does not. World opinion will be with him for economic reasons, and should Iran seek to stop him for its breaking the ceasefire and thus justifying the rain of retaliatory bombs that will descend upon it. Or if Iran restarts missile and drone attacks on U.S. military and allies in the region, the administration can warn Iran that it will lose its oil facilities on Karg Island as well as dual-use generation plants until it relents. But in the long term, no one will forget Iran's third and most egregious effort to hijack the strait, despite its failure to do so completely and for any sustained period. What did I say? It's their third attempt and it's their third failure. The Gulf exporters will double down on their Red Sea and Gulf of Oman pipelines, which they already are, by the way, which bypass the Strait of Hormuz. Saudi Arabia and others will explore more routes, perhaps even through Jordan to Israel and Haifa on the Mediterranean. In the end, Iran will be left with an inert asset, if not a liability, because the United States can ensure that no oil flows from Karg Island throughout the patrolled strait, which the West may ultimately render irrelevant anyway. Importers will quietly begin shifting toward increased output from Venezuela, the United States, and perhaps a soon-to-be unsanctioned Russia. Iran's attacks on the 11 Muslim nations in the Middle East will not be lost on the people of the region. Many of the sheikdoms will continue to press Israel and the United States to ensure that Iran does not rearm. A sane Gulf would not give any more money to Hamas, given its hostile and hated lunatic patron. Regime change. This should be interesting. I didn't read this far. Iran lost most of its 47-year-old multi-billion-dollar investment in weapons, as well as its military-industrial complex. Holy shit, I talked about this. They lost most of their shit, and they have to replace it. You have any idea how expensive that is? And they were poor. They were in an economic collapse before all this. That's why Iranians were marching in the streets. To rearm will cost the regime dearly, and that vast expense will be unpopular with a restive populace short of food and fuel. It will be hard for whoever is running the country to reestablish its military arsenals and multi-billion-dollar subsidies to Arab terrorists. Indeed, Iran's subsidized proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis, may be left orphaned, despised by the Iranian people, and perhaps even more hated by some of their former Gulf co-sponsors. The odd myth of Iranian military invulnerability is shattered. Dude, I talked about all this shit. And that loss of face, too, will have consequences soon at home and abroad. The Iranian people will further grow angry that the one nationalist argument made by the Iranian mullahs, that at least its half-century, half-trillion-dollar military buildup sent shivers throughout the Middle East, terrified the West, and gave global cred to Iran, has now also imploded. It is one thing for the people to be ruled by globally feared autocrats armed to the teeth, but quite another to be governed by humiliated, now impotent incompetents and buffoons. That's exactly what I talked about. Victor Davis Hanson, my man, fist bump, dude. Fist bump. Freaking based. Jesus. All right. Anyways, you guys need to watch Victor Davis Hanson. Again, he's a military historian. I know we don't listen to experts anymore, but thoughts on the spinoff Wing Commander Privateer? I love it and I suck at it. Godspeed. I'll probably stream it so you guys can laugh at me getting blown up again and again. All right. EU news. EU cars will be required to have a car camera to watch EU drivers in order to prevent distracted driving and send footage to the local PD.
Spying on you while you drive.
I heard they're trying to do that here too, not just the EU.
Any plans to pick up the Steam controller? Zero. Less than zero. No interest. Looks kind of cool, but I have controllers. As a kid in Boyle Heights, Louisiana, I had a math teacher in 4th grade who wore a Che Guevara shirt daily, and sundress lib eco-loving teacher with armpit hair. Oh, good times. I remember when my high school government econ teacher said schools are set up to make productive little worker bees in her thick southern drawl. She was fun. He's right, or she's right, rather. Public education is not about education. It's about compliance. That's all it is. That's all it's ever been. Even episodes of Mystery Science Theater made Gangster 86 equals murder references. You will never convince me that a boomer who ran the FBI didn't know. Thank you. Thank you. Just tuning in, watching at the beginning, was starting to feel like nothing ever happens. If Comey in court is that stance taking an L, I have one thing to say. I will happily take the L and give me more. Godspeed. Maxwell Smart was Agent 86 in Get Smart in the 60s as an obvious joke. Comey knows damn well what that meant. Thank you. Thoughts on Trump enriching himself corruptly. Haven't they said this since the very beginning? The guy who refused to take I would think one of the easiest ways to enrich yourself by becoming president would be to take a presidential salary. I think that would probably be step one. Trump has donated his salary. Iran can't shut off the refineries without breaking them. All right, cool. So did you hear the California has just canceled all debates for governor after the shellacking the idiot Democrats took at the hands of Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton? Weekend at Bribe 'em strategy. Oh, that's going to be one of the most rigged elections in human history. Godspeed. Old joke, but a Goldie. All right. How dare you, sir? I'm a World War III through 10 vet. By the way, I just sniffed 10 bottles of glue. I'm sure that has nothing to do with it. Member of the Ramones, are you? Any reason would the supposed monarchist reject the rightful heir to the throne, Prince Reza Pahlavi, as the Shah of Iran? Is it because America bad? It's because of friend-enemy distinction. That's it. That's it. Israel bad, I think, really is what it is. Israel's not even directing it, as I pointed out since the beginning. This is a pre-existing American condition. America's the common element here, not Israel, but they're dedicated Juicebergs now. So Israel having anything to do with this is something they'll instantly oppose. Friend-enemy distinction. It makes a clown of you every time. Every time. I'm a conservative. I'm not a cuck-publican. There's a difference. The cuck-publican part is a spineless organization, and it always has been. They were this way during the Battle of Athens, Tennessee. Yes, they were. I wonder what Bond got up to in the Navy. I don't know. Let's take another look at that haircut, huh? I don't. I grew up in the internet age, but we had dial-up in my area until high school. So I kind of, but not really, grew up with the internet, right? All right. Razor, can we get Macho Man's Tower of Power monologue as Trump? I'll donate again if Taryn does it as Ben Eyebrows Shapiro.
I don't know it by heart. Sorry.
I am a tower of power. Too sweet to be sour, believe me. Space is the place, and the sky is the limit. A big, beautiful limit. It's limitless, they're saying. Maybe the greatest limitless expanse ever. So vast. Godspeed. I can't do that promo as Macho Man because I am maybe the only guy on the internet who does voices and sucks ass at Macho Man. I cannot do Macho Man Randy Savage. I just cannot do it. This is my fourth attempt to ask you, but what do you think about bringing Austin Padgett and Rudyard Lynch on the podcast? They both talked about the Spur grind. I don't know either of them, but I'm open to it. Godspeed. Hellraiser, I've heard an anti-leftist say they support only property/home owners should vote. I'm for limiting the franchise, but that sounds like a road to feudalism. No, I would say probably not. And here's why. Because property owners, that might have been true at the time of the founding of this country, where property owners tended to be all focused in the same area. Today, suburbs and people moving outside of the central area where, you know, the state capital is and all of that stuff is so ubiquitous, I don't think it would be the road to feudalism. The idea, I'll put this to Tactical Hobo. Landowner vote. Would you support it or no? That was how it was in the beginning, by the way.
Well, I mean, there's multiple things we could do. Like, there's that, or maybe you could say net taxpayer. It can't be on welfare. There's all sorts of different things. I just know the way it is right now, like, is not really sustainable.
Yeah.
So
what it really is getting at is we have people voting in our elections who have no stake in the outcomes of those elections, except perhaps to enrich themselves off the government team. You know, I quoted a couple of days ago, Alexis de Tocqueville, American democracy will work until the voter realizes that they can vote themselves money out of the public treasury. We are so fast. We are so beyond that point. We crossed that point a long time ago. James Madison, when they were debating the fishery bill in the 1790s, was worried that if the public improvements clause of the Constitution, if the general welfare clause of the Constitution was interpreted to say that anything that benefits the public in any way, that the money from the public treasury can be used to that purpose. If that's the case, then the powers of the government are no longer enumerated and restricted powers, but limitless ones. That was part of James Madison's counter speech, and boy, was he right, like a prophet. Straight up a prophet. What about you, Taryn? Would you agree with property holder only votes?
I would say it would work for a while. I think that's more of like a restriction thing for like a certain period of time, but I believe it would work. Somebody in the chat suggested married man and woman plus at least 1 or 2 kids equals 1 vote.
Well, household, the vote originally was 1 household. It was 1 household. So it included, that's another thing is, and actually it's funny. I just heard a discussion on a Lutheran podcast where 2 Lutheran pastors were talking about this, because in confessional Lutheranism, they oppose women having the vote, not on the basis that women shouldn't have the vote, but on the basis that women already have the vote before suffrage, because it was counting 1 household, which includes husband and wife. And this Lutheran pastor made this he told this brilliant story about a village in, I think it was Africa, where they were ministering. And it's a very rural, we're talking grass skirt village, right? And so they still have town elders that meet, and they wanted to build a building in the middle of town. And all the male elders got together and around the longhouse, they were going to build a new longhouse right in the middle of town, but they had a fountain in the middle of town that they were going to have to get rid of. And so they held their vote, and all the guys said, yeah, we need that new long building. Let's build it in the middle of town. They all go home after the vote. They come back the next day and hold an emergency vote and vote again, and they all vote against it. And what had happened, he said, was they went back home and they talked to their wives. And their wives were like, what are you doing? There's a beautiful fountain in the middle of town. You can build that longhouse right down the street. What in the world? But women always had the vote, because men are the property of their wives, and wives are the property of their husbands. You always had the vote. What you did was job yourself of agency and screw your position in as competitors in society is really what happened. So it was a brilliant little illustrative position. But yeah, anyways, I thought that was an interesting story that he told. I have advocated for a long time that only land-owning males should be able to vote, and anyone who serves with an honorable discharge from the military, border patrol, and Coast Guard. Well, Godspeed, sir. And that would be the last one, unless there are some Rumble rants. But we, of course, have one more segment, guys.
Yeah. Let me finish these off here. Let's just call you Pat. If Batman killed his enemies, he'd solve the crime problem. Is Bruce Wayne getting government subsidies?
He probably is. He's in a corporation.
And a couple more. Lagarticus, the 1911. If it's good enough for 11 world wars, it's good enough for me. Am I right? 11 Han Omar?
Yes.
Random nobody. Content creators are snakes. Ultros, Razor with all the subversion. What is a blueprint for the right to get back on track?
With all the subversion, man, we got to develop our discernment. It can't just be about clickbait and hunting the most clicks. It just can't be that. It can't be about engagement farming. There has to be some kind of principle. You can throw some entertainment in there. I tell dick jokes along with my stories, and that's how I do it. That's how I built my audience. There's not only one way to skin this cat, guys. When people play into these false narratives just because that's what gets you eyeballs, it turns the entire thing into a freak show, and it plays into these ops. It makes us all easily shepherded. To get back on track, actually, I'm interested in your guys' thoughts. We all kind of can witness the demoralization op happening right now. What are the counteractive measures that we can, because we're witnessing the active measures, per Yuri Bezmenov's verbiage. What are the counteractive measures? I think
it's tough.
I think if I get a vote, I think the solution to shit content is to provide non-shit content that counters it. There needs to be a more vocal counter narrative. And we have seen this Spurg right sphere of influence drop both in prestige in view count. When Candy Kong first started pushing this Charlie Kirk Egyptian honeybee cult assassins narrative, she was number one in iPod podcasts. Now look at her. She's way down there. She's way down the Spotify list and whatever. Because it's kind of like Jerry Springer. It's sort of shock entertainment. It's not really taken seriously. So you kind of have to have the novelty of having a new shocking thing pop up every week. And you can only keep that up so long before you completely discredit yourself. So I think the important thing is for us to have a counter narrative. But what do you guys think?
I think truth is often the best. It's almost always the best.
Yeah.
When one of these people crawl out of the woodwork and you know that they're illegitimate with their fucking talking points, shine a light on them. I mean, usually, the fucking SPLC thing. And
yeah.
A bunch.
I think that hit them really, really hard. And
I
that's
think
something that all of us kind of knew too, a little bit.
You just out them for who they are, and their viewership will fall off, and their lies will come to light.
It is interesting. You know, the narrative has been Tucker Carlson has grown in popularity so much since leaving Fox News. Nick Fuentes has grown in popularity. Candace Owens has grown in popularity. And the truth is, if you look at their viewership over time, it's actually more of a roller coaster. I think because of the shock factor kind of marketing, right? I remember, and I pointed this out many times, when Fuentes, who had positioned himself as Mr. White Nationalist, decided to ride the coattails of a black rapper for a year because he thought he could subsist on the fame fumes. He was actually less popular in the aftermath. He actually kind of had to put himself back together afterward, right? So these guys it's not a constant upward arc. It spikes and then it falls off. It spikes and then, hell, that shit happens to me. It happens to everybody in online content creation. So this myth that this is the future because look at this constant upward arc, not really. It's a roller coaster. It goes up and down because it honestly doesn't have much merit behind it. There's not a lot of expertise or argumentation behind it, and not a consistent philosophy either. You know, when you can move from wearing a MAGA hat one election cycle to endorsing Kamala in the next one, there's no principle you can ever cling to, for fuck's sake. You cannot lay claim to having any principles at all. Hobo, you got any ideas about that? How can you counteract the mass black pilling?
Man, that is tough. I mean, really, yeah. It's like we just have to win in the marketplace of ideas because they say, sunlight is the best disinfectant. And ultimately, that's really all you can do.
Yeah. All right, let's see.
And one last one, Lapko. Sure, you called out the attempts on Trump, but you never called out all those lunatics that directed Biden towards stairs.
It's true. All those people who walked him slowly up and down ramps. Or those people who helped Hillary Clinton up those 2 flights of stairs. Yes. Bippity boopity to you, Razor. Pasta Bazul.
I'd buy that for $1.
To quote a certain aviator-crested warrior, but in reference to a certain monocle-sporting spoon, what else can I say other than I can't believe I used to watch? Godspeed, gentlemen. Godspeed. What exactly is the appeal of self-loathing effeminate leftists? Even the communist Chinese are nationalistic, right? Hey, speaking of freaking effeminate leftists, Taryn, is it time?
Oh, it's time.
Taryn, Hobo, it's time for your favorite, my favorite, the home viewing audience's favorite. It is the game show sensation that's sweeping the nation, the Hassan Piker Minute.
When you press a button, something awesome has to happen.
Christ, what are you doing? You're being such a baby.
Ladies, gentlemen, you knew what it was going to be this week, guys. You knew exactly what it was going to be. A video posted of Hassan Piker on, what is that, public transit?
I don't know where the fuck he is, but
he's on public transit and he's performatively reading the first 2 pages of a Vladimir Lenin treatise. And on the left hand that clasps the communist propaganda, He has a $4,500 ring.
A white gold ring from Cartier. And like Shia states, Lenin in one hand, Cartier on the other.
Oh, they write themselves. I love this segment because we don't even have to do or say anything. It's fucking incredible, dude.
Zoom enhance.
Oh my gosh.
What is to be done by Vladimir Lenin?
Yes. And it's an ugly ass ring, too. What is that?
It's a nail. It's a fucking white gold nail.
What in the world?
$4,000 for that.
Fucking bougie.
Cartier ring. And somebody else pointed out he's on the first 2 pages of the book, and in the video, he like after a second closes the book. He can't read. He can't.
It doesn't bother to read. It's all for show.
Suspiciously placed prop. Yeah, of course, that's just a natural moment. It's not staged or anything.
Look! He's on the first 2 pages.
It's not as much as that he's a socialist, that he's a poser socialist.
Oh,
God.
Aren't they all, though? Again, as I've hastened to point out many, many times, it's the people think that it's the working class that spearhead the communist revolution, but it's not. At best, they get manipulated into supporting it for a short time, usually through mutual gain, like mutual selfish interest. The people who spearhead the communist revolutions are wealthy members of academia. That's who it is. Wealthy assholes, trust fund kids. In Soviet Russia, it was wealthy trust fund kids in academia. That's what Lenin was. That's what most of the Bolshevik. Why do you think so many of them were Jewish? There are more Jews in education. At least at that time, there were more Jews, especially in Russia, in education. So, of course, there were more freaking Jews in the Bolsheviks at the time. But, dude, every time it has happened, it's always been some affluent asshat who's spearheaded it. And then it's, of course, the peasants that suffer. They wind up being purged. Far too many conservatives are blinded by protect the children and are in danger of allowing digital ID template laws to get through. If that happens, we will become like China. Mark my words. Spend $4.5K to get the faggiest ring and outfit ever. Dude, Hassan Piker is like the mirror, he's like the camera negative of a fashion icon. I have never seen a fit on him that didn't look like a trash bag. It is so freaking weird.
It would have passed for edgy back on Tumblr in 2011.
Right? Well, where do his politics come from, dude? Tumblr in 2011. Looks like first class legroom, too, doesn't it? It does. Is that a plane or is it a bus or what is it?
Oh, you know what?
Rail?
It's probably like one of those expensive Ubers.
Yeah.
Executive Uber or whatever it's called. Uber Black.
Whatever. All right. One last one. I like when socialists do that. People call them out because they think they're hypocrites, which they are, but that's just what all socialists are, right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for this Razor Force Offensive. We were happy to welcome the Tactical Hobo back. Sir, you better come back next week so we can boof the bitches. This was too much fun. For Terangel and Tactical Hobo, I am Razor Fist. Until next time, don't get captured and Godspeed.
Razor Force.